All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Otter Players Podcast, episode 53, where honestly, it's a light news week, but we're going to get into what there is, uh, the calm before the storm, personally for me when it comes to the PlayStation 5 and all that's on the block as far as what's to come, Marvel rivals and making unnecessary cuts as the industry reacts, and much more. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into our intros and see what everybody's been playing. Weeb, how are you, man? And what have you been playing?
Hello. Yeah, better. I guess I'm still a bit struggling with my health, but other than that, plenty of gaming time.
Okay.
What have I been playing? I did finish Mario versus Donkey Kong, which is
Nice.
nice. Yeah, I'll finish. I mean, I completed the main story. There's some expert level things you can still do, but some of them pretty annoying. So I'll see if I will finish those. But yeah, it's a pretty nice game you can just play in between when you want to do something where you can not shut your brain off because it is a puzzle game, but you don't have to pay attention to any complicated story or game mechanics. So yeah, that was pretty fun. So played a bit more of Dead Space remake, not much. I checked out Avowed on Game Pass. Um, it started out pretty good, but the more you play, the more you realize it's sort of a and in gameplay wise, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I like the story, I like the characters so far, but you can sort of switch. It's first person, but you can switch to third person, but it is quite clunky. Like I'm sort of feeling so far that it's not ideal in either perspective. If you're in first person, it's pretty hard to avoid if you're in a fight with a lot of enemies to keep track of where everybody is. And I recently got like a really annoying encounter where I just went ahead exploring, and there was this group of enemies with one boss, and suddenly a bear showed up and a healer, and it was really fucking annoying. Um, if you switch to third person, you have a better overview of enemies, so it's easier to dodge them and get behind them. But it's far harder to apply, more finesse, right, in your tactics because you do have to switch between your different loadouts, so you can have with two sets of weapons
Mm-hmm.
equipped at the same time. You can switch between them, and you kind of like at least the way I do it is you have one is with a shield and a melee weapon, so you can defend when they get up close, and the other one is where I equip my spell book so I can cast some spells to attack enemies at range. Um, but yeah, this works most effectively when you're like a first person. You can just straight up look at your enemy and make sure you don't miss your attack. And but then it's harder to keep track of your of multiple enemies. So far it's a bit of a mixed experience to me. Like like I said, I do like the writing and the dialogues and the characters and the settings is interesting so far. But I'm not sure if the gameplay can yeah it's gonna get in the way of that experience. If that's like I will give it a try maybe after finished the Part Warrior, but yeah, at some point it's frustrated me enough where I said like, yeah, I'm not really keen on completing this right now. Um, Other than that, I'm just thinking if I play anything else, but I think it's yeah the Astrobot bonus levels, of course, but um, yeah, and now finally I started playing Pirate Warrior, the latest in the Yakuza franchise. I haven't been able to play them a lot because, of course, they had to deliver with DHL, and DHL can suck my dick because they always pretend that I'm not at home, even though
Language,
I'm I'm
dude.
I- I'm waiting patiently at
No,
the window.
I second that.
Yeah, these but yeah, it's they have done they start some construction in front of my apartment, so I know why they're not delivering it, but it's so fucking annoying that they're doing it every time. Like, yeah, fuck that, I'm not gonna drive here, so I'm just gonna pretend that you weren't
Was
home.
it was it too big to be in your
Yeah, it was
mailbox?
too big.
Yeah, or at the very least, maybe. Nah, no, it probably wouldn't have fit. But they put it in the big in the box, so it was a package technically. So yeah, so they had an excuse. But to be fair, I also had another time where they said I wasn't home and couldn't deliver it, and it was something that did fit in my mailbox. So these motherfuckers, fuck them. If you're listening, DHL, fuck you. Um, yeah, but yeah, so far, yeah, I've not played a lot of it, but it is, yeah, of course, it's a Yakuza game, so it is fun. I do enjoy so far how even though Majima, you can see that in the trailers and the demo that he sort of lost his memory, but he's like it takes him like 5 seconds, like, oh yeah, I can punch people, so oh, yeah, I'm pretty good at this, and and he's such a fucking badass. So I love it that they finally like you got to play as him before, but they finally just say, yeah, let's make an entire game around Majima and just let him go bonkers. And yeah, I mean, like I said, with the demo, it's so refreshing that just by adding the ability to jump makes so much difference that you can just fight in yeah in 3 dimensions. You know that you can juggle enemies, you can fight in the air, you can jump down, and it makes the combat so much more frenetic and so much more satisfying when he plays Majima. Like, I get that they didn't do this before because in general you had multiple characters, and even though every character had a different fighting style, like it would completely change up the way you play the game. But now there's a solo Majima game, they can just, yeah, you get to play as this crazy character who will just do stuff that that other characters do cautious for. And yeah, I mean, I'm loving it so far, even though I've played very little of it. And but definitely, there's going to be the thing that for me, the year now officially I start with one of my most anticipated games of the year, and I'm just going to go full on immersing myself in that and keep on playing until I finish it and probably plat it. That's it.
Okay, that's what's up. Lots of good gaming for Weeb over there, despite the slow news, and that's the important thing that we forget
Mhm.
sometimes when it comes to this podcasting stuff. Um, Even though the news might be slow, the games are definitely flying at us as fast as possible. I was actually telling Morgan I actually didn't even realize the official release date had hit for the Yakuza game. She was saying the same thing, and I know she was really looking forward to it as well. Though it just snuck up on us while we were playing, our respective games. Her with KCD, 2, and so on and so forth. So yeah, the games are coming despite all the craziness going on in the industry. But yeah, Morgan, how are you, ma'am? And what have you been playing? Even though I very much know the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's been listening the past couple of days already knows what I've been playing. I've
Wow.
crossed the 100-hour mark for
Ooh, that good
KCD 2.
stuff. I see you.
Yeah, I'm still definitely not close to being done. Still a lot of side missions and main missions to finish. So I'm excited. I'm happy. Like, love this game to death. Absolutely, it's been a blast playing this game. Um, and we if you want to actually, a good Western RPG to play, you can put down a vow. You can play KCD too. Okay. But yeah, it's just a really good time. Like every side mission feels like it adds depth to the story, to the main story, to Henry's story, to like none of the characters that I've interacted with or like met have been like boring. Nothing I've done has been like, eye roll where I feel like I was just wasting time. Like it's just all been fun. Um, it's gotten to the point where I'll look outside and I'll be like, oh shoot, like it's like 4 o'clock in the morning now. I'm like, oh damn, I gotta get ready to wind down, but I don't want to. And it's just like with the way KCD2 is set up, one gaming session, where I play for 5 or 6 hours, that could be dedicated to only like 2 side missions. Just because of how much goes on with each side mission that I do. So it's definitely the bang's worth the buck when it comes to KCD2. It's definitely on the top of my leaderboard thus far. We're early, it's February, but it's definitely going to be at least one of my game of the year nominations for 2025.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing.
All right, that's what's up. Again, sounds like it's amazing. I ain't gonna fault you because I love when a game that I'm loving just I can cross that 100-hour mark and it just keeps on giving. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely not mad at all at that. Like honestly, that's what you're looking for half the time. Like we said, nothing like playing a good game and it finally ending and coming off that high. So when that ride is nice and long, pause. Um, you know, you don't want the fun to stop. So
yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
um, Omar, I know you had a bit of a break in your gaming, but I'm sure you had some in the meantime before your surgery. Uh, Welcome back. Uh, glad it went well. But in the meantime, what have you been playing?
So first of all, how dare you? A break after surgery? Hell no. I picked up um the very first Metroid actually.
Yeah, I was about to be like, he stopped.
You
Really?
see, you were like,
if
what?
Omar could, he would be playing while mid surgery. Like
Omar's
he'd be
like, yo, put the
Henry,
VR headset and strap it to my
if
retinas.
if you could just put the controller
Don't
in my arm while I,
don't make me laugh. I can't. Anything will move.
Put it
My
directly
body
in
makes
my
me happy.
veins. Omar meant that literally.
Yeah, surgery went well, I think. I say anything because I'm still sore at for attack. As for playing, I picked up 2 games actually. I picked up Pokemon, but modded to be Generation 6, I think. I'm not sure. And I was gonna play that, but Metrovania. So I started the very first Metroid ever I have played, which is Metroid Fusion. I think it was the Game Boy Advance, and I actually found a free what do you call it emulator on my phone. So that's what I've been playing. It's a fun game. It obviously Metrovania have evolved for where they are now versus where it used to be. But other than that, I'm enjoying with Metroid. It's fun, it's entertaining, and yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm close to the end. Other than that, I've been on such a high with Yakuza 4. Like, dude, if there is one thing Sega does best, it's creating amazing characters and storytelling. Like, the betrayal, the voice acting, the emotions, the action, the fact that they were able to basically I'm close to the end because I know because now you can play as all the 4 characters at not at the same time, but like you can switch between them. And what I love about it is everyone brings their own combat style with them, and I love it. to me, my best one that I enjoyed is no, what you call it? No surprise there is the detective. His parry is so cool that you can do it all the time, and I love how you can take advantage of that. But besides the point, also one exciting news: we are anticipating a massive reveal for Helldiver 2. Basically, it's gonna be a gigantic monster. I'm curious if it's gonna be a raid boss or not, but we're excited for it. But yeah, because of the surgery, I was at my parents' house, so I couldn't play anything else. Otherwise, I would have finished Yakuza 4 and started either 5 or Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. But yeah, no, yes, surgery
Well,
took me a little bit off, but I'm still playing. Like, not stopping that.
well, Omar, I forgive you because you finally played the actual Metroid game.
It took surgery to get him to do it.
I mean, when I get the Switch 2, I'm gonna absolutely replay all the Metroid Dread and all that jazz. Like, now I'm gonna catch up on Metroid.
I can't wait to hear how disappointed he is with the game.
He's gonna have. He's
How
gonna.
am I
He's,
disappointed?
he's gonna be like,
I just raved
No,
about.
guys.
I don't.
It was good, but
No, I am not expecting Metroid
And
Dread
it,
to disappoint me whatsoever.
it's not
Like
Vania enough.
knowing me,
it's
that
not
genuinely
Metroidvania
isn't.
enough.
It didn't have them.
Knowing me,
There was a lot of Metroid, just not enough Vania for me. Yeah,
Did-
it was
did-
missing.
I love Prince of Persia so much. I went back and finished the DLC for it.
Yeah, that's
That's
normally
how
the game
much
he compares it
I
to, and be like,
enjoyed it.
it was, Prince of Persia was just a lot better. Like, like I'm just waiting for it. I'm just waiting for his list of negatives.
Oh, could I have not said anything negative about Fusion? But I didn't. It's a good game. I'm enjoying it. I'm close to the
Yeah.
end. That's it.
Uh,
End of
Now,
story. You move on.
now that you phrase it like that, I actually suspect you wanted to say something negative, but you didn't because you didn't want to
No,
call you
there
out
is
on it.
nothing negative
He was trying to
about
save
it.
face.
There's nothing negative about it. It's a good game.
Of
I
course, it's
love
a
it.
good game.
I
Omar
like
about to be like, I got
I like
a
the
few quid pro
concept.
quos.
I'm
Mm,
enjoying
mm,
what I'm playing. To the fact I'm playing it right now.
Give it time.
mm.
Right.
Hey, it's better than the control and button matching, don't you think?
So
Also retalk because of my what you call it operation. I can't move that quick, so I don't have the energy to pick up my controller. So it's literally close to me on the other side.
mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna be content
Oh
with
man,
just.
Omar's gonna have to actually find some other hobbies, guys.
It's not laziness. It's genuinely pain.
He's just gonna play turn based games in the meantime.
Well,
I mean, I do have that Pokemon game, so who knows?
oh my
See,
god.
there you go. See,
Well, I thought he was gonna broaden his horizons. Never mind.
absolutely not.
But I always was a JRPG fan, so yeah, Pokemon. Literally, the very first game I downloaded was Pokemon. But then I saw Metroid, so I'm like, okay, Metroid it is then.
Gotcha. Oh,
Yeah, I'm
again,
done.
uh, in true Omar fashion, even with surgery, he still manages to get the game on. So, can't nobody take this man's gamer card away at the very least, because he gonna game rain, sleet, or snow, literally. Um, but yeah, as for me, what I've been playing, um, honestly, pretty much just Avowed right now. That's been pretty heavy for me. I'm trying to
I'm
finish
sorry.
it up. Oh man, you got jokes. You got jokes. Calm down, man. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Uh,
No,
I'm.
I want better for you than fine, but okay.
Oh my god. No, I'm
You should want better for yourself, Tony.
I'm-
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But okay.
I mean, I gotta play what's available. You know what I mean?
Damn, that's the bar now. We're playing
that's
what's
the
available.
bar. Well,
So, what
for
would you rank it out of 10?
I mean, right now it's like a solid 8. I mean, if I'm being
Interesting. So,
honest.
if you go between the difference between about and something like Skyrim, were you
Oh man,
expecting?
we not doing that. We not
No,
doing that.
no. Listen to my question first.
Oh, here we
Were
go.
you expecting something to rival Skyrim, or you knew about it's gonna be a different
So
concept on its
so
own?
so the difference between me and a lot of other people is that I don't have misplaced expectations. So I didn't expect it to be, Skyrim
Mm-hmm.
2011. I expected it to be Obsidian's take on an open world area in a world that I've played in before, because people who are actually familiar with Obsidian would know that this world is based on a world that they've been building for a long time, uh, which coincides with their prior game, Deadfire. So I knew what to expect going in, what their goals were. They always focus on character development and writing primarily, and I mean, they've got solid combat and stuff like that that I've been going through. I've been enjoying playing the mage. So no, it's not something that's completely out of the way. I mean, yeah, you can do some basic comparisons with Skyrim. That game is going to be much bigger, which again is another expectation that they set before the game even launched. Is that although it is an RPG, um, open instance kind of, because it's not entirely open. Like, you go from place to place, and like those areas are open, so it's really open instanced. Um, but yeah, nothing I've encountered so far is out of the ordinary or anything I didn't expect. Graphically, it's phenomenal. I'm playing on PC max settings, over 100 FPS, so I don't have those Xbox issues that people run into
For
with the
sure.
game. I've definitely seen some footage. I mean, I think the game looks good in general on a lot of settings. I've messed with the settings myself, from low to epic, just to kind of see what changes. Um, it doesn't really seem like much a lot of times. It's more so a clarity thing. Um, but yeah, like I said, I can only really speak for mainly what I've been playing, which, like I said, is on epic settings. So I mean, everything looks amazing. The fire, particle effects, all that stuff looks amazingly rendered. Again, like Weeb said, I've really been enjoying the writing. Um, I've been playing exclusively in first person. I tried the third person for like 2 seconds and
Mm.
hated it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I turned that right back off. Um, and like I said, I've been varying my style between playing like a wizard, and my secondary has mainly been a bow and arrow, which is really strong for whatever reason in this game, at
Interesting.
least
That's
early
what my
on.
friend at Otter Player Podcast is playing as the Wizard and Bonero.
Yeah, I mean,
It
it's
seems to
it's
be
double range, so
the prepared one over the
Your your
melee.
your friend at Other Player Podcast?
I mean the vitamin G.
but yeah, I mean, I've seen more, pretty much all the available play styles. Um, Priscilla has been playing a wizard as well as a two-handed warrior. So I've been seeing her fights, running up in there and just cleaving people, and just going crazy, just pure warrior mode. So how you gel with the team, I'm actually a really big fan of how the NPCs fight with you, your companions. One thing I cannot stand, as I have stated before, I cannot stand having companions that do not full on fight with you. It is so annoying, because I'm like, if you're gonna be here, you need to step up and you need to fight just like me. So one of the things that, shout out to them for actually doing, that they're not just there for show. Like, they will kill enemies on their own, uh, block and pick you back up, res you. Like, they do all kinds of stuff. So shout out to them for really good companion AI. Something I don't think has ever really even been highlighted that I've seen. But that's a real big thing for me. Like I said, I've seen a lot of games slack on that recently, and anybody who's played like a shooter, like, you'll have like a team of people with you, like a SWAT team or something, and yet you're always the one that has to end up shooting the enemy. So I can't stand like stand-in NPCs. Um,
Yeah, I did like that with the first fight where your temporary companion did constantly draw the aggro from the boss enemy, so I could just hit him in the back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, like shout out to them for that. Like I said, that's been really great. So I'm just enjoying the story overall. Honestly, it's just been getting better and better. More intrinsic, introducing more elements. Things that you talk about early on, you start to get to see animancy and some other stuff, and really get to see why people think it's so dangerous. Like you get told things, but you also get to see those things in action as you go through the story, and really kind of. This game definitely tests your moral boundaries because you're trying to solve something that is on one hand incredibly dangerous, but then you have to do like incredibly dangerous or potentially dangerous things in order to solve the issue. Um, there's a lot of really questionable decisions along the way. So it definitely tests your moral compass and like, do I want to do the good thing and like maybe get a resolution, or do I want to do the really bad thing and definitely get this done? You know, but then it's like you do that and it might not pay off. You know, so yeah, they definitely do a good job testing your your moral compass in this game. But like I said, overall, I'm enjoying it a lot. Um, like you said, I've seen a lot of comparisons and stuff. Obviously, yeah, like I said, that's one of the things we'll get into about expectations, right? You know, like Omar said, did I expect Skyrim or something else? I expected exactly what I got. But like I said, I'm actually an Obsidian fan. I'm a Bethesda fan. I'm a fan of Western RPGs in general. So I have a pretty good idea about what I'm getting into before I play a game. So yeah, nothing has been shocking or like appalling or like, oh my god, that doesn't do that. How dare they? Or something like everything's been pretty much on par for what I've expected. Um, Instead of dock points here and there, like I said, 8 so far. Like I'm not jumping through the roof, but it's a perfectly solid title thus far. Like I said, the writing is, I'm really enjoying the characters. That's incredibly important for me. Again, especially as someone
Mhm.
who was stating how weak writing had been lately in a lot of games. Like the accepted level of general writing in a lot of games has been so low for me. Especially reading a lot of books and stuff like that lately. It's like, man, the bar is like on the ground somewhere, and
Yep,
to get
I
something
know how
that's
you
decent,
feel.
yeah, you right, yeah, exactly. And Weeb is another avid reader in the podcast as well, so Weeb definitely always knows what's up when it comes to a good story, especially one written with good characters, because people have to equate those two things are to have to be done together. There's your good overall or overarching story, and then there's good characters within the world and how they live and uh, are they interesting? You know, not
Good,
just your companions, but the world itself.
good characters can overcome even a weak story. If even if it's
Exactly.
a serviceable story, if you have characters that are interesting in the mechanics, like it's the whole adage of the journey is what matters. Like it's only fun if you're dealing with characters that that you like, right? That you appreciate, that are interesting to see how they evolve. If
Exactly.
they're boring, again, everything is depends on the context, because obviously I'm not expecting great writing from yeah, like I said, Mario versus Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah, yeah, of
Um, but
course.
but if you're entering a genre where yeah, that's kind of expected, then yeah, you can really fumble it if you don't pay attention to those areas. Sometimes a good story can also, like, let's say, if you have to have a really good story if you want to keep my attention with poorly written companions or characters, right? So it's easier to fail there. So yeah, so either so I'd say focus much more on characters, on the interactions, on the writing, because that will carry you much further than just think, oh, I have a very complicated story, and wait until the end, like you really appreciate, but you're constantly falling asleep during conversations and everything, because you can't really be bothered to care about the characters. You don't care if they live or die because they're very uninteresting.
Exactly. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
actually to point out, that was actually, anybody who's played Mass Effect will know that was a big mistake they made in Andromeda.
Yeah.
Most of the time nobody really cared about the characters, and you're coming off a trilogy that to this day pretty much has one of the strongest attachments to characters I've ever seen for a fan base.
Really.
Like
Yeah.
people love those characters. Um, and funny enough, one of the characters in this, one of my favorite companions so
Yep.
far, Kai, is actually voiced by Garrus Vakarian, um, or the guy who voices Garrus Vakarian from Mass Effect, and he does a phenomenal job. And the characters are written so well, and like moment to moment gameplay, they say shit that constantly fits their characters, and it's hilarious because it makes it feel so much more believable. Like they will comment on everything, um, and again, like you said, good character writing. Like it fits. Like Priscilla is also playing it at the same time in the other room, and she got rid of the Archer guy because like she thought she liked him, but she was like he's a bit plain, so she replaced him with one of the new characters that she got. So same thing. Like again, everybody can kind of find characters that fit their whole thing. I even like the dynamic between him and the secondary guy that you get, right? That so they're not just their own. They don't just comment on their own. They comment together all the time and have like a dynamic between themselves as well. So like him and the Archer guy are like constantly going at it. Um, they'll joke around and play pranks on each other at camp and all kinds of stuff. Like it's really really well written when it comes to like character development and stuff like that. And when you get through certain things that they want, maybe character quests and stuff, you get to see another side of the character that maybe they haven't revealed. Talking with them further will reveal a lot more about the character depth, things that they went through in the past, why they're, you know, here, you know, in the living lands where they are now, versus where they've been, you know, their family, they have any, why they leave home, all kinds of stuff. Like it's really, really well done. So I don't want to understate that at all, because as someone who's a really big fan of good writing when it comes to that. But yeah, like I said, overall, it's like I said, it's a solid 8 for me so far. There's, I mean, there's always room for improvement, right? Um, but nothing is like glaringly bad, like I said. But it's also not. I mean, I'm not gonna put it in the legendary category of anything. You know, I'm not calling it, you know, my early Gotti or anything. But I'm enjoying my time with the game. Um, and I mean, I'm happy to report that compared to what a lot of other people have stated about the game. So it looks like both me and we are also enjoying it. So
Yeah. Though, like I said, I do have to. Yeah. The thing is, I think the brief part that I experienced, like when I was playing the story
hmm
portion, that was fine. But then you sort of once you hit shore, after the first level basically, or first chapter, then you're sort of have the opportunity to explore. And I think maybe I just went a bit too far and hit some enemies that I might wasn't supposed to fight yet, or whatever. But yeah, that point, because you're probably, yeah, not supposed to fight him, and then you have to deal with all the different mechanics, and basically you don't really have a full party, or any upgrade equipment or anything. Yeah, it made it a bit frustrating for me at that point. But yeah, like I said, I've barely touched the surface in that game. I just played it because I need something to play while I was waiting for Yakuza Pirate Warrior.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you'll
Yeah,
definitely. It'd be interesting to see how you feel when you get a little bit further. Because
yeah,
like I said, I think I'm about 26 to 30 hours in, so like I've been going
yeah.
pretty
Not,
hard.
not yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Uh,
we'll see what everybody thinks and their final verdicts when that comes up. Um, but yeah, jumping into our first topic, um, this was one that me and Morgan kind of noticed, and um, you know, War wanna mentioned in chat earlier about how much he's enjoying KCDC two or KCD two. Um, you know, and one of the things he really said is expectations, right? It's what he expected. It's doing what he felt the game set out to do, right? Um, and one thing that we've noticed, especially not just gamers have been really guilty of this lately, but especially industry, people who are set to review games, especially in channels where they are the sole reviewer, people like Maddie Plays, so on and so forth, or Gene Park, who a lot of people are familiar with, when it feels like a heavy onslaught of games for us, right? And we have to purchase these games. Imagine what that feels like for someone who has to review a bunch of games, um, and they're the only person that reviews those games at that publication. So you're not an IGN where you've got the RPG person, or you got two, three of them, per genre to put people on things to get more of a proper review from someone who's into those games, so on and so forth. I mean, we've all seen the product of reviews, right? Where someone has obviously reviewed a game or been forced to review a game because they were the only person available at the publication to review it, and they just destroyed it. And it's like everything that they hate is like a positive of that genre. Um, but because they were the only person to review it, it's like they're just gonna tear it down and give it a 5 or a 6 or whatever. Um, but like I said, like one of the bigger things that's happened right now, of course, like I said, is the comparisons, right? When you are playing a lot of these games back to back to back, when you're on a time crunch, especially for some of these, so you're pushing through, maybe not experiencing all the content, in order to get your review out in a timely manner, and you're playing something as close as Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and Devoured, and Kingdom Come comes out first, gets all the praise, it does all this intricate stuff, with this believable world, and all these things within this, exactly what it's supposed to do, right? Like I've been lucky to play some of it already, right? I mean, it really makes you feel like you're in that living, breathing world, for that, and that's what it's set out to do. Something Morgan mentioned to me about the characters having the time of day, and eating breakfast with their families, and all this really intricate things that they did, and then going from that, which is they're both a Western RPG, and then going into Avowed, and you just finished praising KCDC2 for all these different things, and that you loved about it, and this and that. And I mean, I've seen stuff where people are like, oh, the genre's got to change, Kingdom Come is just everything I've ever wanted. And like, so when you get these games, these really genre defining games that, again, do exactly what they're meant to do for themselves, but not necessarily apply to the entire genre, then like I said, you go and you play another game that's more fantasy based, that is a more traditional Western RPG. You're kind of having these conflicts where if the person who's reviewing these games or playing these games back to back can't compartmentalize the experience and their expectation, then you're going to result in a lot of times harsher, potentially harsher constraints or scoring based on what they just played, right? People talked about that with Breath of the Wild versus Horizon, which for the all honesty, that had zero effect on me. That I always thought that was a running joke because those games are nothing alike. Um, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
always found the comparison weird.
yeah. I mean, it's a ridiculous comparison. It had zero effect. I mean, I love the Horizon series. Obviously, the Horizon series went on to sell well over like 20 million or 30 million at this point. Um, so it's like it's clearly not having an effect on it. But yeah, to this point, like I said, Morgan, I know we talked about this in detail. The jaded effect that seems to be happening with both gamers and reviewers alike. What is something you can elaborate on that one for us?
Yeah, when you're playing a clearly superior product, it's not fair to the inferior product to be compared. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but seriously though, I think when it comes to reviews and reviewers, a lot of them are just kind of bogged down with the amount of reviews that they have to do. Um, I mean, 2025 is packed, right? And then you have like essentially 3 RPGs back to back with Avowed, KCD2, and then Yakuza Pirates. So it's just like, imagine you having to review all of these games in just this short time period. It's going to cause some kind of, you know, waves to cross when it comes to these games. Like if you're a solo YouTuber and it's just your channel and you're the obviously the only one reviewing, you're not going to be able to help but compare and contrast. Like, you just finished coming off of one RPG and now you're going straight into another. And, you want to be objective, right? But if you really liked an aspect of one RPG and then you play another, it's going to be kind of hard to not, I guess, take points away from that game. But, you have to look at it from from a standpoint of what was the game trying to achieve, right? Because I mean, yes, KCD2 does some amazing things, but it's just like, do you really want every single game to play like like every other game? Like, is that what we want out of gaming? I mean,
Exactly.
the great thing about gaming is the uniqueness of every game, and that every game brings something different to the table. So I mean, yes, there are aspects of games that I like. I like you know uh detailed oriented things. I like NPCs with like a lot of functionality and things like that, but it's just like not every game is built to handle the same way or play the same way. So I can't really expect every game to play like this other game that I really like. And I don't think it's fair to compare and contrast games like that. It's a trend that I've been seeing a lot, especially this generation, where people will put these you know edit rolls together of, oh, let's compare game A and game B and show you the differences. Look at this game from 10, 15 years ago, or look at this game that came out at the same time. Look, in this game you can knock the oranges off the table, and this other game you can't. I'm just like, why are we like nitpicking stupid shit? Like, it doesn't really make sense to me. I'm just like,
To be
the
fair, this
the
this one felt like counter worry.
I mean, not all of it's console. Like, yeah, sure, some of it is, but some of it is just people just being disingenuous for the clicks. Like, they just want they just want the attention and they want the clicks. That's all that really is about. And they claim to be gamers. They claim to, oh, it's just because I love this genre and I feel like it's regressing. And it's just like, but you're nitpicking on things that aren't important. Like, it's one thing to be like, the story is, it's not as enthralled as a previous entry in a game, or the characters just aren't as interesting, or the gameplay seems to have like not progressed at all, stuff like that. But to like nitpick, oh man, because you can't shoot arrows and make it stick in the tree, it's a lesser game. I'm just like, that that's not, I wouldn't really count that on my list of things to really care about. Like, yes, those things are cool. It's cool to see like, water effects and everything like that. Quality of life stuff is a nice additive to a game, but that to me isn't anything that's going to make or break a game. Right? Like, oh man, I can't play this because my character refuses to splash when it's in the water. Like, it's like stupid crap like that
That's such a
kind of
big
like
one I've seen.
it's stupid crap like that kind of pisses me off, because it's like we're losing the focus of what gaming should be about. Like, y'all, like, we're losing the plot here, and a lot of it is due to the infiltration of gaming by people who aren't actually gamers. People coming into having these conversations because they see gaming is a lucrative um kind of medium now, and they realize that, oh, I can just come in here and you know say the craziest of crap, and it'll get clicks and likes and views and things, and people will, regardless of whether they agree with me or not, it'll still pop up on the algorithm because people are mad at me in the comments or happy with me in the comments. So it's just I've just noticed that the grifting is at an all-time high in gaming, and this is why I am a big advocate of gatekeeping. You know, people always get mad, like, "Man, you shouldn't gatekeep." Listen, there's certain things that you should, because if you don't, that's when people who are disingenuous and aren't really, fans of the hobby come in, and you just run rampant, right? I
AKA
mean,
grifters.
yeah, it's just annoying. But the conversation has like just gone completely left when it comes to games. Like we're no longer focusing on whether a game is good or not. We're just like we're so focused on nitpicking things that aren't even like factors. Things that you shouldn't really care about, right? Um it's but like I said, it's partially from grifting, but the people who are not grifting and are being like, genuine with the reviews, like I said earlier, it's also the fact that we've got so many games, and it's hard to not compare games to, the other game that just came out last week. And that's why, developers are always trying to kind of push for their game to have its own, breathing room, right? That's why, like, we saw a lot of developers kind of, that were in February kind of move out, because, if February became so packed that they just like, okay, we're going to have to spread out here. And that's why I was looking at February, because by the time, December rolled around, we had like 6 or 7 games announced for February. And I was just like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to play all these damn games, why they all chose February to release. But I mean, obviously it's because of monetary reasons, right? The end of the quarter, they're trying to get those numbers up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's become a thing where I just don't think a lot of games are kind of getting their fair shake. um a lot of games are being compared to other games that really have nothing to do with them. Like y'all were using the example of Horizon and Zelda. Like I don't. It's just because they both came out around the same time that people just decided that, okay, we're gonna play the compare and contrast game with these two IPs that really are that one aren't even on the same system, two aren't even the damn same genre, and three have like literally nothing to do with each other. you know, like they're not even really kind of going for the same audience. It's just, but gamers, they just love it. It's people like to say, my toy is better than your toy type of thing.
Yeah.
And whether it's a genuine conversation or not, people just want to, just to say I have the best most shiny toy, you know than everybody else. um but yeah, I think that honestly, if Avowed had probably released at like a different time, right? Or let's say if KCD2 didn't release until like April or May, I think, there's probably a chance Avowed probably would have been rated higher, because a lot of the reviews that I read for Avowed was comparing it to KCD2 and what it was lacking. Like, oh, it's, well, especially the reviews from like YouTubers and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, like one was definitely a Maddie Plays. He was a big fan of KCD2, but he was very disappointed with Avowed because of the things that KCD2 had that Avowed didn't. And I'm just like, I mean, yeah, okay, cool. That's fair to say, you like these certain things in a game, but you can't really compare the two. You know what I'm saying? Developers have different goals, and they have different audiences they're trying to reach, and they're not all trying to do the same thing. They're not all they don't all want to be super detail oriented. They don't all want to be, crazy realistic. Obviously Avowed is more of the fantasy trope. KCD2 is more of the realistic trope. So it's like you're comparing two different developers with two different mindsets that are trying to tell two different stories.
Exactly.
And I think Avowed probably would have rated like a 83, maybe 84 if it had its, if it had room to spread its legs, without being crowded by other RPGs next to it, right? I think people would have gave it a fair shake, and they wouldn't have been so critical, because one, like Obsidian never said that this was Skyrim, so I don't really know why people keep bringing Skyrim to the discussion. Like, I'm like, no one, like, yeah, Xbox, some Xbox fanboys said that, sure, but like they're not making the game, so why does it who cares what they have to say? I mean, they've been very clear that this was not Skyrim, and they weren't trying to achieve a Skyrim, and it's just like, that was Bethesda anyway, so I don't really know why people thought this was going to be that, regardless. But again, it just goes to show that people and gamers have their own expectations when it comes to games that don't always align with the developers, especially when because developers a lot of times make it very clear what the goal is for their game, right? What they plan to achieve, and what what the scope is, and what gamers can expect from their game, right? And even when developers are clear and concise and transparent to gamers and let them know what they can expect, for some reason, gamers still, even with the information available to them and they hear it, they're just like, okay, we're going to disregard what they said because this is going to be the next GTA. It's just like, they never said that. I don't know why you thought that, because they never said that, But yeah, I think it's just a thing where gamers need to start learning to keep their expectations in check and listening to what developers have to say, and understand that if what the developer says is not what you want out of a game, you can't be mad that it's not giving what you want. This is what the developer wanted to deliver, and if that's not the type of game for you, then that's perfectly fine. You just you don't support it, don't play it, but you can't look at a square and get mad because it's not a circle. Like,
exactly.
it was meant to be a square. That's what they wanted it to be. And if you don't want a square, go over to this other place and get the circle. That's how I kind of see it. But gamers are entitled, and they're fickle, and if you don't give them exactly what they want, they cry and they moan. So yeah, this is kind of the industry we're in right now.
No, I agree. Weeb, what do you think about this whole thing? Have you noticed this trend as well?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking because I'm not, I've seen it before,
Mm-hmm.
even before now, so it's not
It's not new.
that
Yeah.
it's not new in that sense. But yeah, I mean, like, with journalists loving Souls games, you constantly see that comparison where to
Oh
the
yeah,
ridiculous extent.
that's a good one.
But remember that Spyro remake review that sort of says, oh, this boss fight makes Spyro the Dark Souls of platformers. Like, oh, come on. I mean, why does everything have to be compared to that, even if it's not appropriate at all? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I've seen that. I agree, Morgan, that yeah, you need to make sure the comparison is fair and apt, and that's like I've told before. I for a short time I've written some reviews for a gaming website, and yeah, I notice how tough it is. It's different. It's different from just playing a game and here talking about it and what you think, right? Then if you actually have to write a review about it, because there's time pressure, there's and there's also like you don't really have the option to just say, yeah, I don't like this game. I'm just gonna play something else. Not you got to play the game, right? Because that's part of the agreement. You're getting a review code, so you can actually so you can play the game, but you have to
Yep.
also write a review about it. Um, and it can be challenging if you, because there's even a difference, because games is also is an interactive medium, right? Like I can watch a movie, and even though I don't enjoy it, I can still watch it. But with games, like if you don't get it, like if it doesn't click, if it requires a certain that you have to get into it. I played a game that was I don't remember the title, but it was like a fighting game, but it had a very unique way of fighting where it was about momentum, right? And I didn't get it. Like it took me like a while before it finally clicked and I understood what the game was trying to do. But if I wasn't reviewing it, I would have just quit a long time ago. Like, yeah, look, I have no fucking idea what you want me to do. So I'm just gonna call it quits. But it's like I felt obligated to just continue playing it until I got it, and then could give a fair review. You know okay, has a long learning curve. So keep in mind if you want to check this out, and you know once you do, this is what you can expect. Um, but when you're comparing like an indie game to, of course, you can compare this to a AAA game because obviously they don't have the same resources, same means
Yeah.
do so. That's not fair. But also, like I was checking, okay, is this like a debut game from a developer? Because like if they've made the games before, and you see certain flaws in there that yeah, this is a rookie mistake to make. Like, okay, sure,
Hmm.
if this is your first game, I'm more forgiving than and I won't make, let's say, the comparison to your better peers. Then if you've been in this industry for a while, you have shown you know better, and you're still not getting it, or you're regressing or whatever. And
Yeah.
then it's fair. So yeah, there are all sort of things you have to consider when comparing things. And yeah, I am surprised indeed that, like, not necessarily surprised considering that everybody can call themselves a reviewer these days. Just create a website, but
Yeah.
that you're yeah that you don't allow yourself that level of nuance, that level of um that you maybe don't even bother checking into it. Okay, what is it? What I'm playing? Like, is this again a debut title? Is this who's making this? Like, because even though like you have to sort of strike this balance. Yes, you have to be fair. You have to. It's unfair, of course, to give a game a pass when you wouldn't give that to another game. But you can sort of take allowances for it. Say, okay, yeah, I'm not like gonna praise this game to high heaven because it has obvious flaws, but I can see the potential there and can see like, yeah, they're trying very hard, and if you encourage them here, maybe the next game is going to be great because there is definitely potential there. I'm fine with as a reviewer to do that because even though you might say, okay, but your only obligation is to the gamer, yeah, but if I encourage that developer to do better next time, instead of just saying, okay, your game sucks, get out of gaming, I don't want to play another game from you ever again. Like, yeah, could do that, but who's worse off there? Because potentially you could have a great fucking game that they're going to make for the second or third game that you will never see because they got out of gaming, right? So yeah, so just to wrap this up, yeah, I get their the tendency. Yeah, of course, if you play games for a living, you can see sort of the dichotomy between gamers and journalists. Of course, we always have sort of this adversarial relationships, but you can see that there's sort of a tendency that they like particular things like Souls games. They're a fan of that. That's sort of a journalist thing. Even though of course there are gamers who love Souls games, but there's also a lot of gamers who don't, right? And you see there that their representation might not be as reflective of reality of the average gamer mindset as in journalism as it is with gamers. But you also see, things like turning a game into an open world. Like personally, I didn't like Breath of the Wild because I didn't think it well, technically Zelda is in a way open world because there's always sort of an overworld map, and you can explore it and go to different dungeons, etc. But it also has a certain sense of linearity to it because you're supposed to not get to a certain area until you have the right item, right? And here is sort of like, yeah, we're giving you all the tools, and it's just a sandbox. You can do whatever you want. I guess that's sort of difference in the sandbox, and journalists love that kind of thing. Um, but I didn't, and I know that I'm not necessarily means that I'm right because a lot of people loved it, but I'm looking at it from a perspective of, yeah, I'm a huge Zelda fan and I enjoyed these games as they were, and they can still make great games the way they were, like the recent actual Legend of Zelda game where you can play Zelda, where it has a twist, but it still sort of fits that traditional mold. Um, but these are sort of things that yeah, I can understand from the perspective if you're doing this as a full-time job and this is all you do day in day out, that yeah, it's work, right? So even though you love gaming, you're still doing a job, and you know, if you have to play there's some people like, oh yeah, yeah. Imagine you were a porn reviewer. Oh, that would be a dream job. Like, no. I think if you had to watch porn day in day out and have to review it, you would probably hate it by the end of it. And I think that's sort of with gaming as well. Like, even though it's a hobby, and you're probably never gonna lose a love for it. You're going to look at it differently because you're doing it. It's your job, and even if you play like 10 great games, if they're all the same genre, that's doing the same thing, yeah, it's easy to suddenly say, yeah, I'm going to compare these two, or like I want to see something different, or something that yeah, gives you maybe like more freedom or whatever, right? So I can see that based on your experience, that you might have a different perspective to say the average consumer as we are. And even though that's basically the audience, people that you are doing your job for, in a sense, with reviewing games, I can see from, yeah, that there are people that they might have this inclination, but it is of course important that and I can't talk about it as if I'm an expert because I did it just for a short while, but I can see that you have to be careful and check yourself. Okay, yeah, um, okay, you're approaching as a journalist, so you have to do it differently, but you also don't have to forget that, yeah, people are spending their money on this, and
Yeah,
you have to be fair, and
you
you
have to
have
be
to.
objective as possible, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, and strike that balance and also not be unfair, of course, because yeah, it's not the game developer's fault that you're playing the 10th game, the 10 Western RPG, that's a first person RPG, uh, in a row, because yeah, that's all you review. Like, that's not there. Yeah, you can of course get some fatigue there, but you also have to keep in mind that's not the problem of the developer. That's your problem. And yes, of course, like you can make a statement like, yeah, you chose to make a game in a very yeah, in a genre that's sort of oversaturated, and so then I'm going to check, are you bringing anything new to the table? And that's of course fair to say, like, yeah, is this going to be anything that instead of yeah, like case in point, Avowed and Kingdom Come Deliverance, like, okay, given the choice, is there any reason for me to not play Kingdom and play Avowed instead? And then yeah, then of course you can make that comparison.
Hmm.
uh, if you're talking about time spent, and if they're indeed very similar in type of genre, but I'd say, again, back to the specific, I'd say, uh, despite the fact, of course, that Obsidian is now part of Microsoft, and interesting enough, I think Kingdom Come is actually not sure, smaller in terms of people, or at least smaller backing, I guess. It is that you're that they're sort of reversed, that they're sort of, yeah, okay, you kind of gonna say, even though that's the case, if the game indeed wasn't built as being, okay, this is a AAA game where we spent $100 million, and it looks like a AA game, yeah, I mean, then you can of course make that assessment. But if it was never intended to be that, then yeah, you have to be fair about that. And even if you want to make that, yeah, but they could have made it that, yeah, sure, but that's not what they wanted to make. So you have to review it as based on the intentions, still being fair, of course, that you're not gonna give them a pass because, yeah, it's their creative decision, because yeah, game developers can also make creative decisions that suck.
True.
That's just a fact. There have been plenty of games where they over engineered it, and we've talked about Final Fantasy Rebirth before, where like, yeah, it's nice that you have develop a game mechanic for a single mini game, but like, what's this necessary? Or over animation, where every action has like a lengthy animation that you can't skip. Like, it's great that you want to show off how good you're at animating stuff, but like, this is a 100+ hour game, and you're basically extending that runtime by making me watch skippable cutscenes of mundane actions every single time. So yeah, you didn't really think this through in terms of enjoyment, because that gets old real fast. So of course, yeah, you can be critical of decisions they make, but yeah, I think I ran it a bit too long, but indeed, I agree with the assessment. I do think I can understand sort of the difference in perspectives, and us and versus journalists, and that can be a hard thing to not have that tendency to compare things, as long as you, and it is fair in the sense, as long as you're not comparing apples and oranges, right? Like, yeah, what's the game, what's the intention of that game, or the developer, what did it try to make, AA, AAA? Is it like you mentioned, comparison to Horizon and Zelda, which yeah is a stupid comparison, because people made these comparisons because they're like superficially, like, yeah, you have both technically are post-apocalyptic, open world game, that's sort of the real, and they came out around the same time. That's sort of what they were going with, right? And that was just, and of course, most of those arguments were made in bad faith by fanboys, because they just want to hate on something made by Sony, in favor of something that was not made by Sony or Nintendo, whatever you want to call it. So, but yeah, that made no fucking sense, and I think, at least for the most part, that was just by fanboys. But yeah, of course, I did hear some journalists make that comment. The thing is, like, I think what at least the observable fact was that there were, I don't know if that's sort of holds true statistically, whatever, but there's some people said, like, if you played Forbidden or Horizon before Breath of the Wild, then you didn't like Breath of the Wild and liked Horizon, and vice versa. Which is an interesting thing, and can possibly be true, because obviously you have, if you even though they're not the same genre and have nothing to do with each other, they might on a certain level scratch a similar itch, and at some point you're sort of geared towards, or conditioned toward, okay, this is sort of what I want from a game, from an open world game, let's say, and then you play the other one, and like, okay, but this is not what I just experienced, what I think is the best in the, well, in the genre, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
or in its kind.
The KCD versus Avowed thing
Yeah,
again. This one set out to do
yeah,
this. This one set
exactly.
out to do that, and I think I love this best.
Yeah,
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 Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's a pitfall, and I think in some sense it's a thing, is a flaw in our programming that we can um, have that even though we know they're not the same and not aiming to be the same and do the same thing, that we still end up comparing them
yeah,
because we at some point are, because of the experience, sort of hardwired in expecting it and think that we have to expect this from something else because on a certain level it does similar things, so, or it has similarity, so so we are expecting everything else should also fall within those parameters. Well, should also have these tropes, these gameplay mechanics, because oh yeah, it sort of settles in that we're expecting it to be like if you play Breath of the Wild, that you're expecting Horizon to be PlayStation's Breath of the Wild, or vice versa, even though neither set out to do that. And it's not fair to compare the two. But if you're in your mind make that comparison, it's not necessarily even malicious or just console bullshit, but just because that's how you yeah, you're wired at that point in time. Yeah, you can't help doing that, and then really it's a matter of what did you play first. That's going to shape your opinion on the other one, and you're going to make these unfair comparisons that were never the intention. You shouldn't make, but you're still going to make them because yeah, that's how we work. You know.
no, I got you. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree with what you said. It's just like you said, a factor of programming and who can separate this stuff best. And I think that's the important thing if you are looking for a reviewer
Mhm.
or something like that. Like Priscilla had said a while back, she found somebody who has a style that she likes. You know, they 100% the game, they do this and that. You know, they do quite a few different things that a lot of other reviewers don't, right? I know there's quite a few others that do the same. They go a little bit further with it. A lot of times their reviews are a little later because of how much they do put into the review. But yeah, like you said, at the end of the day, you just got to know what you're getting into, right? Um, like frequently have stated, you know, how much I don't really like platformers and stuff like that. But um, you know, ultimately, I realized if I had to review one or something, uh, I would still probably rate some of them pretty significantly high because I have the ability to objectively understand when a game is really good and understand what it was meant to do, regardless of whether or not I'm a fan of personally what I experience. Right? I can separate my what my preferences are versus what the game was meant to do and did it do it and did it do it well, you know. And that's often the biggest thing about, you know, games and what people are looking for in an objective review, right? um
Hmm.
like Prince of Persia. Good.
But but the interesting thing is you still need a certain reference frame of reference. So even though you don't enjoy platformers, you have played plenty of them because
Oh yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
that, that
yeah. I've still played them. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's how you can make a comparison. But if and that's the only way you say are allowed to review them if it's not your cup of tea. Because if you never play those games, like say racing game, like
Yeah.
Gran Turismo, like if you never play the racing game and someone say, yeah, just review the racing game, and you're like, yeah, it's boring because I don't have a jump button. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You have zero frame of reference. Yeah, we've definitely seen those reviews. Uh, the RPGs definitely usually end up being the one to get hit by those people with
Yeah.
zero experience, and then they're like, "Oh man, this is stupid because it's turn based. Oh man, this is stupid because the story's too long." And it's like, wait,
Also,
what?
remasters and remake gets that hit with that as well. It's a slippery slope at the end of the day.
Wait, remasters and remakes get hit with what?
With comments like this, like remember when Kratos didn't have a jump button and people went apeshit?
That's not
I
that,
wanted to
that's not a
say reboot.
remaster.
My bad.
Yeah,
Lemon.
it's
Yeah,
not
I
a
was
remake.
like,
That's not a
that's not.
remake.
Yeah,
No remake. And no, I get what you're trying to do, Omar. It's not exactly
but
what we're
that yeah,
talking
that
about, but
wasn't the same.
it,
But yeah, I know what he was trying to.
it's yeah, I know. In that sense, it's expectations based on, and in this case, it wasn't even. I think nobody seriously what was complaining about lack of jump button, but there was a reference to previous games in the series, which has a completely different gameplay. So it made no sense to make that comparison at all. But uh, damn, Omar, I wanted to say something, but I forgot because of your comment.
You've
I
been
will
talking
test
for so
your
long, you still haven't forgot what you
Oh
want to
no,
say.
no, I know, I remember. Because that's also a thing is um, there is of course always the question when someone makes a game, if it's part of a series or not necessarily, but mostly a series, like who is it for, right? Because you always have this thing where people you have to judge a game. Okay, um, what about the newcomers, right? And some games, make an effort and say, okay, we want to make sure that it's accessible enough that even newcomers can get into it and don't feel like I have to play all the previous games in the series. And sometimes that can work, like if there's no heavy reliance on a continuous narrative that stretches back way, and if you hop in mid, like in the ninth title of the series, and you hopefully see loss, of course. um that would be helpful if you have some way of catching up, or but it very depends on the game. Like The Witcher 3 is a perfect example of a game that really did a good job of introducing you to the series without really feeling like you need to have played the previous two games, even though you will miss out on certain nuances and characters that you haven't, that you are supposed to know, but yeah, they aren't introduced to you like you met them the first time. They're introduced as old friends or whatever, and you won't have the same feeling with them if you haven't played the previous games. But like some games, like the E series is a perfect game series that it has a continuity, so it's the same character every time. It's the same setting. It's not like Zelda where every game sort of, bar exception, the last one is sort of reboots, and it really doesn't matter which entry you play first. But East, like even though it has the same character, it's not really, you don't really miss anything if you jump into the eighth entry of the series, because it jumps between different eras, different parts of Adel's journey, and every game is basically a different adventure with its own story. So that's a great game example where you don't necessarily have to play the previous games to get the story. But like the Yakuza games are a perfect example of games that have a lot of history. So even though each story is self-contained, as in it's not like, okay, you end in a cliffhanger and you have to continue with the next game to know what happens. But still, there's a lot of history there. So it can be a bit daunting to jump into that blindly. Plus, it's not just the story, but it's also sort of the gameplay, the all the tropes, all the things that make a game like that great, draws people in, that the fans matter. And obviously, you're going to cater to the fans because that's your audience. And yes, of course, you want to try to expand that audience. But I think what I'm trying to say is that I see sometimes reviewers fault games for being inaccessible for newcomers, because they're not gonna give you a recap of the previous 9 entries of the game within the time that you have to finish this game. They're just going to assume, maybe a brief recap, but if you know the rest of the story, play the fucking other games. You know, um, and that's kind of a thing is where I do say that it does help at the very least. If you're a reviewer and play a game for the first time of a series, that sort of requires you to or expects you to at least be familiar with the previous entries in the series, that you either take that into account, that okay, yeah, I'm not that familiar, so I will have to sort of give the game some allowance, that even if I don't necessarily get the story, that or things seem weird to me. It's like, okay, I checked it. That's how these games are supposed to be. That's part of the charm. So yeah, you can't really dock points for that, even though I do see reviewers often do that. That's kind of problem, is that either you need to review it as a fan, somebody has played them before, because that's kind of the thing, is like I don't even need to watch a Yakuza review, because I'm a huge fan of the series. I know and I trust RGG, and I know every game is going to be great. But
Yeah.
if let's say if there was a chance, if let's say if I was sensitive to that, then I would expect my reviewer. I wouldn't really trust a reviewer from a reviewer who hasn't played any of the previous games, because they don't have the frame of reference to tell me, am I going to enjoy this as a fan? Like, I don't care if yeah, you can review a game on a technical level, that, oh, does how the graphics look like, does it have a lot of bugs or performance issues? Sure, you can do that. You don't need to have any familiarity with the IP or the series. But if you're gonna complain about the story, or about the characters, or that there's not enough exposition, or the gameplay, even though it's no different than from previous entries, um, then I'm like, yeah, you're not, at least in my, for me, you're not the right person to review that game, because there's no value to me in reading your review, because you for who are you making this review? You're not making this for people who are new to the series, because and are interested in it, because you're scaring them away, and you're not making this for all time fans of the series, because yeah, everything you mention as, oh, these are things that bother you, are exactly the things that people like,
Yeah.
why people play these games. Like, if you, I don't know, if you, for example, complain about, oh yeah, no, I like the story, but then there are all these side missions that are really weird. Like, yeah, exactly, that's the point. That's the charm of the series.
Yeah, the
So
new person
if
wouldn't get that.
yeah, so that's the thing that I do feel like I do miss that with some reviewers, especially larger ones, where you can just see this person has never played a game in this franchise before, and they're trying to dock points on things that they see as an issue, even though that's a feature, that's something that, yeah, you might, if you drop in blind and never played the game before, this might uh, uh, yeah, maybe push you away, if you're like, again, often the comparison with Yakuza is made with the GTA. Like, the people say, oh, it's a GTA of Japan. No, it's not. It has nothing in common with GTA. It's an RPG. Like, has
Yeah, I've
nothing to
heard that
do with
before too.
GTA. But if you're a reviewer, and you're gonna say, yeah, but compared to GTA, the map is really small. Yeah, which I actually heard people make, like, that complain about the size of the map. Like, yeah, you absolutely have no idea what you're talking about. You're not familiar with the games that you're having. That's sort of the problem. I think, in the essence, yeah, you're comparing it to something you shouldn't be comparing it to, and you might even be cynically comparing it to something, because you know people are doing that, and you want to get clicks or whatever. But,
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, but again, you don't have, your review has no value to me, because you clearly don't care for this series. You haven't, you're not yeah, you don't have to be a fan, but he's not familiar with it. So you cannot really tell me if I'm going to like it as a fan, as a longtime player of the series, because what I need you is, okay, if you've played previous games, if you're a longtime fan, you play them all. Okay, how does it stack up to the previous game or previous two games? So is it better or worse, or, you know, yeah, that's something that I can do something with. That's something that helps me potentially make a purchasing decision, even though, like I said, I will buy them all, doesn't matter. But even so, hypothetically, if I weren't inclined to buy them all, that's something that would help me make that decision. But not if you're have no clue what you're talking about, and you're just judging it based on some indeed unrealistic comparisons that you have in your mind. um, that doesn't help me. Like, it doesn't help me if you're telling me that you like GTA 5 better than the last Yakuza game, because I want to know if it's a good Yakuza game, not if it's a good GTA game.
Absolutely. All good?
Over.
All
Yeah,
right,
all
cool.
good.
I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to cut you off. You was going in.
Uh, uh,
No, that was
no,
all good,
me
and
agree.
no,
Yeah.
but that was all good points to bring up. Exactly, like things to take into consideration when you're listening to people reviewing games. All these things are important, and all these things are you have to take into consideration. Uh, and the reason why you typically can't have one reviewer, right? Because, like you said, one of them may come into something where they're new to the series or the franchise, and it's not going to hit the same, right? Um,
Mhm.
we often tell people, you had to be there. I always, I don't even think Woodstock '99 is a thing. I just say that, but I'm like, it's like Woodstock '99. You had to be there,
Yep,
you
yep.
know, just because people know Woodstock was like a big concert, and I'm like, the reality is, if to really know what it was like, you had to be there. And that's a lot of the stuff with gaming. Like you said, you've grown up playing a lot of this stuff, and it's like, yeah, people can play retro games, and stuff like that. And I've said, yeah, you can still experience it, but there's nothing like growing up, and you know, popping something into your Super NES or your Sega, back then when it was the cutting edge, the greatest thing on the
Absolutely.
block,
Yeah.
you know. Like Mortal Kombat will never be the same for me ever again. But I was there when it was Mortal Kombat 1, when you wanted it on Sega because that's where the blood was, you know, so on
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
forth.
yeah. Back then, you couldn't believe it. Like, oh man, how this is so gross. Like, you couldn't believe that. And but that's especially with when early 3D games, like a Nintendo 64, the PSX, like when that came along, like the way, like, if you look at it now, yeah, it looks terrible, right? But if
Yeah,
back in the day, it looks as good as now in the latest Naughty Dog game, because that's your frame of reference you had at that point in time. Like, you never seen
exactly.
anything so amazing looking, right? And yeah, that's what you said. You had to be there to have that experience.
Absolutely. Morgan, you were gonna
Yeah, I'm
say
gonna.
something.
I'll
Yeah,
test
go
your porn theory and get back to you with the results, Weeb.
ahead.
Good luck. Good luck.
I
Yeah,
love it.
thanks.
Yeah.
Uh,
Are you about to pass out? I thought that's what you were
no,
about
go
to
ahead.
say.
Go.
Okay,
No,
you good?
go.
All right. Yeah. So Omar. Same thing. Like I said. Um. Obviously, you've been a witness to it. Obviously, you talk about people's negative opinions on things all the time, how they reference it wrong or they don't know what they're talking about, so on and so forth. Um, what is your take on the whole jaded gamers and bad comparisons?
So the thing about it is this. Let's give it a buck. We all make comparison. Like, we all compare games, we all compare movies, this, that. And some comparison are fair, some other comparison are absolutely not fair. But when you compare like something, the latest that I commented on was that Morgan shared, which is about versus Skyrim. It's all about what did the developers promise? Did they developers the evolution of Skyrim? Did they develop? Did they promise that you're gonna forget Skyrim when you see about? No. They gave you what they gave you, and it's up to you to decide if it's for you or not. At the end of the day, comparison is gonna mean nothing. Like, yes, Skyrim can do things about can't, but still, about it has its own story, its own characters, its own combat, and this is where I draw the line. Comparing a fine and dandy, but why is it only you're doing is comparing and not actually playing the game? Like
That's a good question.
it's like borderline free in Game Pass. I say free with quotation mark, but you guys understand what I'm talking about. It's this is why I I enjoy comparing. Let's keep it a buck, but I play them and then I compare them. And yeah, some games can be different and way better if they took like for example um, some stuff from other developers or studios. Like I talked about it, Final Fantasy 16. You don't have remotely enough skills that rival Devil May Cry 1. That's an insult, especially when you're tackling the action adventure genre.
No, what you're talking about is
Um,
comparisons that make sense versus comparisons that are unnecessary and
yeah,
nonsensical.
but at the end of the day, I did play them both, and that was it. It like to me, it's just why it feels like a lot of console war going on, but also a lot of I'm gonna compare this game to that game because I don't want others to play this game. And then to the people that are followers, they let's keep it a buck. Not all of them have enough time to play all these games. So you're gonna pick and choose. And how do they do that? Reviews, YouTube, all that stuff, and then you're gonna see okay, which is more from better for me, which suit me, which have better gameplay for me, and stuff like that. And yeah, we come down to the meat and the potato of the conversation, which is when reviewers are not actually reviewers; they become influencers at, at some point. And sadly, not all people are like you, Innate. We have people that review JRPG that only play action game or rating game, and absolutely that game is gonna review trash
Yeah.
because you're not used to a rating, you're not used to an action adventure game or a JRPG, you're used to a rating game.
Well, I mean, it's like we've said, like he's interested to know if the next Yakuza game is a good Yakuza game, not someone's comparison to the last GTA game, because they're nothing alike, which is
Yeah,
part of the
like if
problem with those comparisons.
if I'm gonna play the next pirate Yakuza pirate game, I should already know that Majima is gonna have his quirk. The game is not gonna be all too serious because it's a spin-off, and it's gonna have a lot of wacky stuff. Like that from the get-go, I need to expect that. And if I'm reviewing the game and I'm surprised by that, and I don't enjoy that, to me, I'm like, so why are you reviewing the game then? Are you even a Yakuza fan? Because clearly, in order to understand what the Yakuza game is, you gotta review it by someone that have played all the Yakuza games, or at least know the story. Why are we playing as Majima and not Kiryu or Ishin or Ishiban, I meant. It's,
Yeah, because somebody could technically be like, "Oh, well, that's a negative," and it's like, okay, so
yeah,
you clearly came in not understanding the assignment and what their intention was. If your negative is going to be like, "Oh, I'm not playing as the main character from the other games," it's like, okay, so you're starting off on the wrong foot already.
why are damage numbers on the screen? Not all people like that. I love them on my own, but yeah. It a lot of people, Morgan and Weeb have made a lot of great comments, and at the end of the day, I do believe Avowed would have scored better if not for
Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Yeah, it absolutely screwed it over. no fault of its own. That's the funny part. Like what? And Morgan said it best. I don't want every game to be Kingdom Come, and that's an absolutely fair statement to make, and a true statement to make. Like,
Well, that's something we deal with a lot of games when one comes along that does something really well and gets rated really high. Um, I I famously have said this a lot for Final Fantasy VII remake when that was first out and people were going crazy and they were like, "Oh, this is perfect. This is it. This is what all JRPGs should be from now on. I want all of them to play exactly
I was
like
like,
this."
no, and I love Final Fantasy remake, and I enjoyed Rebirth, but no, I absolutely don't want all JRPGs to become like that.
Yeah, I mean, no one should
We
ever want that.
we've seen it happening with the Tales franchise. They're picking up action now, and to the point where I'm like, okay, what is it? Is it Star Ocean? Is it the Trail franchise? Or is it called Steel? Like, make it different. Differentiate between each other. Not every game needs to be not have that same combat. Like, this is why I'm more drawn towards indies. Like, no, I'm not gonna go into it. But yeah, it's 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 frustrating because at the end of the day, Avowed is literally free. Play it and then
Well,
decide for yourself.
not free,
I mean,
but yeah, you mean it's
quotation.
on, yeah, air quotes,
It's in
yeah.
Game Pass. That's
It's
what I
in
meant.
Game Pass, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I agree.
and to
Yeah.
me, it's like, yeah, I understand. Your time is most important. I absolutely agree. But if you are a fan of Western RPG, then why would you be even disappointed with About? Don't you want to have each game to have its own story and combat gameplay mechanic and everything in between? That's what borderline is to it. It
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's just people need to play game, which they don't do. Which is why grifters exist. They are capitalizing on people hesitation, companies.
Lack of
Uh,
experience and misinformed gamers.
yeah, but also companies being not per se silent, but more like secretive about what they're doing, how the development going, and stuff like that. And that brings out the negative from. I'm not gonna name, but you know who they are. I share sometimes on screen, and I'm not talking about console war. This is beyond console war now. The whole day stuff, like, oh my god, it's atrocious. But this is why they're so big. People literally gravitate toward negativity. And if you pick something negative about a game, that's gonna make you money.
Well, I mean,
Cause
Warwana said it in the chat earlier where he said when he wrote for a publication at one point, they pushed him to either be extremely positive or extremely negative. Like, you couldn't just give a good review. Like, they pushed him for those because that is what gives you clicks. Yeah, like, I've either
yeah,
gotta go see why did you score this game a 6 or why did you score this game a 10 out of 10. Because if it's an 8, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I mean, I get that because those are the ones that get attention. So I mean, they pay attention to that, and that does suck because then that opens the opens the door for disingenuous reviews or at least disingenuous review scores, which we've also seen where someone will like I forgot what IGN review it was. It sounded like so good, and then in the end he gave it like a 5 out of 10, like.
mm.
But it was like, wait, that
Oh
score
yeah,
doesn't
I've read
match.
many of those reviews. Like, yeah, you raving about the game, the story, the combat, the gameplay, and then the end score you expecting like a 9 or a 10, and it's like, oh, I enjoy my time, but it's a 5.
Yeah, basically.
I'm like, you're doing it for, click. This is why, to me, yeah, Metacritic run the industry, but you shouldn't play all these games that Metacritic highlight. Like, yeah, I love it. I enjoy my time with it, but it's a 5 out of 10. They use reviews for just clicks. Like, there is no genuinity in this game street, sadly. And that's what we are lacking. Actual gamers that being genuine about their passion. They exist, but they stay up. They stay hidden most of the time. But yeah, to me again, compare all you want, but play your game. Because that's what. Are you not gamers? Is that like I? That's what pissed me off the most. Yeah, I complain about games. Like I'm absolutely complaining about games. But you know what I do? I play them. And then I complain, but I do play them. Because despite everything, I enjoy starting new games, experiencing new gameplay mechanic. Like just alone, uh, while we was talking on the screen, there was four, if not more, totally different Metrovanias alone, and each played differently. Like you have
I
literally,
knew you were watching that trailer.
I need to thank you for the grime too. I am so excited for the gameplay. Um, I am disappointed that Eternal Noctis Lucas didn't have gameplay, but I understand. But other than that, yeah, I'm a take that what you call it, that highlight reel from you, because it just got a lot of games I want to play. But
Yes,
hey,
because
that's just me.
that is a highlight reel with over 10 Metroidvania games that I
Okay.
told Morgan I put in there on purpose to see if Omar would see it.
I was actually not paying attention, not gonna lie. But then
Uh-huh.
what happened is, no, I swear, I was literally playing Metroid. But then I couldn't hear Wave because my battery died. So between the switching of battery, that's what I started seeing the first Metrovania, I think. And then after it, it went Metrovania after Metrovania. And then I recognized Grime too, because I beat Grime 1. I love Grime 1. And then from there, I'm like, okay, since you gave me update on Grime, I am expecting an update on Eternal Lucas, but we didn't get it. But we did get a few games, even Silksong maybe getting a release date finally, unless that trailer is old,
Mm,
because this game being
I
in
can't remember,
development,
but I think it's only a couple weeks, so I'll give it to you later.
uh, yeah, but yeah, let's not talk about Bear again. Tattoo Midnight, and again, I'm excited about. But let's move on. I'm pretty sure we have other topics to cover.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, at the end of the day, the rule of thumb after that discussion is know yourself as a gamer. Know what you're
Not
into,
not not
and
that. No, I disagree with that comment mostly because
you
if you
disagree.
Yeah.
don't,
Wait, what?
Oh my god.
yeah, let me explain why.
Here
If
we
you
go.
don't,
See, like I say,
Every
like I
time.
say,
I was literally.
like I say, every time we start to move on, here go Omar. Actually,
hey, he said
what did I say?
something I
I told you you would
disagree
do
with.
it. I
Oh
told
my
you would do
god.
it, Omar.
Lord have mercy. Here we
Hold
go.
the fuck,
All right,
hold the
guys.
No,
fuck,
no, no, because we was about you said,
both
okay,
of
I
you were
guess it's
talking
time for
for
us to
35
move
minutes.
on. Now listen, you
All of,
said it's
okay,
time
let's
for us
move
to
on.
move
Let's move
on,
on.
and you
Let's move on.
started talking again.
This man can't let me close it out. Like I'm like
Hell no.
this. I'm still gonna make him explain that later because there's no way that is a bad thing.
Apparently, we shouldn't know ourselves as gamers.
No, because I want people to try new things. That's it.
That has nothing to do. Again, this is why we drag your ass every week because my statement has nothing to do with not trying new things. We literally spent the
Okay, let's move
entire
on.
time talking about a bunch of people playing games that they don't play, and why that's a bad thing, because they have no frame of reference or comparisons. If you know yourself as a gamer, as in know what you want to play, have an idea of what you're into, and know your expectations, then you won't have these issues. That's why I said you don't want to. You got to let me explain the whole thing.
Okay.
Don't, yeah, you almost had it, but yeah, on to our next thing. So obviously, a big thing that was making the rounds over the past week, Shuhei Yoshida has been unleashed, on the media. He has been making the rounds. He's done tons of interviews, uh, been quoted and misquoted a billion times at this point. But the truth obviously came out about a lot of stuff that we've heard speculation from fanboys on for ages and so on and so forth. But one thing in particular that I wanted to focus on was something that definitely keeps getting misquoted on purpose in a lot of podcasts, which is where he says the PC is like printing money. In his reference to that, he was that is not the entire quote. He goes on to state that what he means by that is that, as a product years later has run its course through its sales cycle, they basically, do a little more, get the product over to PC and make some pure sales out of it. So essentially printing money, because obviously it's profitable by that point, because PlayStation fans have supported it, throughout the entirety of the time it's been on the market, and often to amazing success, as we've seen with a lot of their titles that break 10 million in no time, with God of War, Spider-Man 2, so on and so forth. But that is actually what that statement is for. He also specifically states the reason for the initiative is to give their games, potential exposure beyond people who have been curious, maybe, and haven't really jumped in, or to their games, as well as the Chinese market, which anyone, like I said, who knows, the Chinese market in particular is still growing like heavily, because there was a 15-year ban on consoles being sold there. So the PC market boomed naturally, so on and so forth, with mobile in that region as well. But with that ban lift, PlayStation is thriving there. Perfect example in recent news was when Black Myth Wukong dropped. PS5s were selling out in China, because of course that's the only console you could pick it up on, and still can only pick it up on PS5s. So again, the PlayStation 5 is doing phenomenal in those areas. Anyone who has a powerful enough PC, like you said, they wanted to generate exposure to those users, so that, should they want to play their games in the future, maybe have something as an alternative to playing their PC, it may entice them to pick up a PS5 in the future, which has been their strategy from the beginning, and it's worked out amazingly well. A lot of people, despite what a lot of people say, clearly have PlayStation 5 consoles as well as PCs, go back and forth between the two, as they obviously offer, unique games, and there's plenty of games as well that people prefer to play on consoles, and so on and so forth. So for Shu mentioning that in particular, it was pretty hilarious, because a lot of people have speculated, oh, they're gonna immediately go day and date's coming, it's inevitable, it's around the corner. But Shu essentially reiterated and strengthened, what everyone else has stated, what the initiative is for, what they're trying to do, is essentially strengthen the PlayStation brand itself, right? Not weaken it, as we've all seen the effects and the results of, Xbox's initiative when they went day and date on PC, and the effect that had on their sales, of their hardware in particular. Like, PlayStation is looking to maximize that and increase that further. Like I said, just per example, for if people are not sure about some of the games that are not available on PC, as someone who does play on PC, Some of the more popular stuff is the recent NCAA college football game. Then you also had the the upcoming biggest game probably in the history of this entire generation, GTA 6, which will be launching console exclusive for at least a year, which is, again, exactly what Rockstar has always done for a while there. And I can't remember the other title that we all played right now. Weeb, you got the platinum for it um, from Vanillaware.
Well, which one?
From Vanillaware. That was
Unicorn
Oh,
Overlords.
there. You go. Yeah, Unicorn Overlords. Another
Yeah.
amazing game that almost all of us played. That we would not have been able to experience if you did not have a console of some sort. So, like I said, there's plenty of reasons for that, and tons of other games that PlayStation has yet to port, or it may not, and probably will never port to PC. So again, like I said, they reiterated that and strengthened that, and the strategy again is working to amazing success, which we spoke about recently with the financials that have been showing their pickups and financials for third-party sales and microtransactions, which again, I don't know. I've been hearing this on a lot of other podcasts, and it's irritating me to no end. Like, I really don't understand how someone cannot put together these correlations. But I recently heard on a podcast, somebody said it was unimportant that whether or not they put their games, their first-party games, on PC, because the majority of the sales that they made were from microtransactions and third-party games. And I was like, I don't think the person realizes that the entire reason that PlayStation is making that money is because those people are choosing to pick up a PlayStation to have the option to play those games while also playing those third-party games on PlayStation hardware. PlayStation would not generate microtransaction money from Call of Duty and Fortnite and all these other titles and FIFA and so on if the person was not playing on their hardware to begin with. Like, I was like, I don't know. I feel like some people,
oh, it's almost as if you need to buy a game and play them in order to generate. Oh, interesting.
well, but specifically, they need to be playing on PlayStation hardware. Like, I don't, like, people keep trying to diminish the importance of the hardware, trying to drag PlayStation kicking and screaming into the mud where Xbox is at this point, and it's frustrating. It's like to the point where they're acting oblivious, and it's like, are we really acting that silly that we're acting like the hardware is unimportant because one person or one company is struggling to sell single digit level consoles, as far as the million sales, and it's like probably dropping into under a million sales in a year at some point soon, and it's like somehow the console that's thriving, or the consoles that are thriving between Nintendo and PlayStation are supposed to join them, and somehow that turns into PlayStation's financials, thriving and showing that this PC last strategy is working incredibly well for them. Somehow they should transition or change that. It's got to be the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever heard. So again, like I said, people misquoting that whole PC printing money thing as if like PC is something that they need day and date, when that is not what the statement entails. In fact, largely on a lot of these shows and stuff as well, what you'll hear is a lot of people admitting that ultimately the PC gaming community is completely different and largely uninteresting in a lot of PlayStation's single player story driven games, right? And the people that have bought a PlayStation, that want access to that stuff initially, and the people who actually genuinely have no problem waiting, they'll pick them up there, or as we've all seen, which people love to deny, obviously the pirating, people will pirate them in droves, so it's like whatever that has comes from that, right? It ultimately I mean, it ultimately doesn't matter what people misquote and so on and so forth. PlayStation is seeing the results of their strategy being deployed, and the success that it's garnering them and the platform. Like I said, in a monumental year to come, with, like I said, the likes of GTA 6, potentially Intergalactic, and some of the other titles, the Ghost of Yote, and all the other titles. Like, PlayStation is literally in the calm before the storm right now. You were talking about them standing up, going full stride into this year, and potentially unleashing one of the most craziest flooded years we've had ever, alongside, what essentially the Switch 2 ends up doing. So, I mean, for gamers, it's just looking like a phenomenal year. PlayStation fans are doing great. Nintendo fans are doing great. Xbox fans are getting good stuff too, but it's like, again, for some reason, there's this need to try and drag PlayStation specifically down, to diminish the importance of the console, which is definitely not unimportant. And I think that's the biggest thing to take away from what Shu said, as far as, their PC strategy. Not that it is some essential thing that they need, but that, and that they need to go day and date, but that their current strategy is working exactly as intended. So yeah, shout out to Shu for putting the truth out there. Pretty much what we already knew. But it's putting a lot of people and a lot of nonsense to bed. After him confirming that and going with that. But yeah, we've, like I said, you've seen the comment. Like I said, we've understood this initiative for a while. Them coming and bringing console games, their first party studio games. Some of them later. Them obviously bringing the live service games day and date, because those games need, a larger potential audience day one. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, are you surprised by what reiterated the strength of that strategy working perfectly?
Uh, I mean, I'm not surprised he's reiterating it, because that's what we've all been saying. It's the entire idea, like you said, that they're the sort of the slippery slope fallacy that they're basically propagating is that, yeah, because they're doing it with some games, it means everything is going to come eventually,
Mm-hmm.
day and day, or because Xbox is doing it, Sony has to do it too. It's a ridiculous argument. We keep saying it, and we've kept saying it, and um, it of course, the diehard fanboys will just, I think they're always saying it, that he's lying, blah 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 blah, even though he has no reason to, because he's no longer employed by them. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's so obvious. I mean, why would you decide to change your winning strategy? Why would you cannibalize on your own systems? Why would you, given the example that you have with Microsoft doing it, and now see where they end up at? Why would you follow suit? And I think everything they've been doing, it's good that we have Shu given the proper context. Now we've had Sean Layden for say that initially the strategy was just to sort of rope in the PC players to PS5. Of course, since it didn't seem to really work in the way they hoped it would. It seems more like they've changed their strategy, and now we see, indeed, now we get an explanation. Yeah, it's easy money to make, and they've seen sort of this is the right balance, right? That, yeah, they can make the extra money on PC, but they're not doing the day and day strategy, so they're not cannibalizing on their own sales. So people still buy PlayStations because they want to get those PlayStation AAA titles day and date. Plus, as mentioned, the entire China thing is that predominantly a PC market that they
Mm-hmm.
would try to break into. Um, so yeah, everything given, and I mean that makes, of course, sense, considering the whole China Hero project, that's their main focus. So everything we've seen so far and everything that's been said, like it makes sense, giving that explanation, which we all, all knew in some way or another, has been validated now. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all. This is just the way that like I said, we've all said, it really was, right. That it's not a sign. Like, look, nobody can look into the future. We can't give any guarantee that it will not happen at some point.
Yeah,
I don't see this happening as long as Sony wants to be a console manufacturer. But
agreed.
like, say, if they at some point decide we're not going to do that anymore, yeah, you know, of course. Or if they I don't know, decide to hire Phil Spencer as a CEO for PlayStation. I mean, anything is possible. But considering the information we have now, and using our common sense, and the way things are unfolding, yeah, I'm not seeing that happening in with the current scenarios in mind, right? So I don't see it happening. Period. It's not in the cards right now. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, as much as a certain fan group wants it to be, wants to drag PlayStation down with them. And the thing is, like, I mean, we always talk about PlayStation and Xbox, but it's not like dragging PlayStation down. It's just like dragging gamers down, dragging gaming down. Like, why would you want gaming to be worse?
Exactly.
Uh,
That is so weird to me. Like you're so upset about the current landscape that you're willing to you want to eliminate a company, which, mind you, none of us have ever wanted. All of us have ever talked about on this show is how much we wanted Xbox to do great. We wanted them to deliver top tier games. Their decisions are entirely their own. All we ever wanted from them is great games. You even bought your Series X on that
yeah.
principle. So yeah.
Well, yeah, but for the back, bad, but
Well, yeah, but yeah, the backwards compatibility and so on and so forth. But we've always praised all their initiatives, including the backwards compatibility. You know?
yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. Um, if we are perfectly like I did, but I think anybody would be perfectly fine, getting an Xbox if given reason to buy one, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if this is kind of the thing, is like I said, like basically what they, rather than their console, giving people a reason to buy it, or their brands giving a reason to buy their products, rather they would want nobody to buy any products of any other console, or particularly the main competitor. And like, yeah, I don't know why you would want that. Again, you always talk about choice, but you're perfectly fine with the other guy to disappear, right? Um, uh, talk about competition, monopoly, but you're perfectly fine with the competition to disappear. And you know, yeah, I mean, look, I get the tribalism, I get why they're fanboys, but like, how do you still call yourself a gamer if you're fine with less games, or a gaming landscape changing for the worse? Because of course it's going to be, because like I said, like PlayStation, the only reason they're making these massive AAA games, cost $100 million, it is because they're console sellers, right? They're a hardware company. That's also an interesting thing that you has mentioned in one of the interviews, that yeah, the advantage that Sony has is that it's a hardware company predominantly. So they were able to uh, take the risks, ironically, with their software, because they have a hardware company backing it up. When they were struggling with the PS3, like, they were able to recuperate, they were able to keep afloat with their TV division, right? They were doing really well. Um, so they can sort of leverage that risks because they are a diversified company that's not not just making games, right? That's something that a lot of game developers and publishers don't have. They have to. The only thing they have is the software. So there's a lot more risk there, and if Sony was a say software only company, yeah, there would be less risk. Even if it was just a division, they would still take a lot less risks with their games if they didn't have a console to sell. If they were just for a third party publisher, they're putting their games anywhere. And there's also a thing that Microsoft will have to. I think that the extension of this, the silly argument that they're sort of trying to twist the fact that now Xbox games are coming to PlayStation, that somehow is bad for PlayStation, that they're getting competition from Xbox with their own first party games. I don't think Sony has any issue with they're all too happy those games are coming, because
Mm-hmm.
of course any sale you make on those games is basically that they're going to get a cut. And but the challenge there, I think, for Microsoft, there are way more challenges there, because they're no longer just competing. They're no longer just making a game for selling their console. They're competing, with not just with PlayStation, with this was the argument made. They're competing with everybody, with all the third party publishers and developers and indies for the attention of the gamer. So they're just a third. There's a publisher on that platform. There's just a third party, and so their challenge is going to be, you have to deliver quality experience that people want to play, right? So you're got the only thing that for Sony, this doesn't matter, whatever. They're gonna get their money, whatever game, if it's a third party or a first party game. But and the more games, the more reason there is for people to get and stay on their platform. So for Xbox, they're changing their own playing field, because they're now forced to compete as an actual third party publisher,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they are in essence. Even if they're still a console manufacturer, they're to PlayStation, to Sony, they are a third party publisher. That's as simple as it is. There's no debate about that. And that means they have to compete like one. They have to deliver like one. And sure, if that gives us better games, better quality, that's absolutely fantastic. Like nobody should complain about that. But don't make any mistake that this somehow is a strategy anyway to in the end. Oh yeah, no, they're just doing it to undermine PlayStation, and in the end they're going to come out on top. No, this is a very obvious uh, strategy, following the fact that they need the money. They need to make money on their IPs because they have made a huge investment, and I need to recuperate that. And as soon as they have a taste of how much money they can make, considering how successful of their IPs they brought over are on PlayStation, they're gonna keep going, and they're not gonna just suddenly at some point say, yeah, now we're gonna take away. You have to come to Xbox to get them. That's not gonna happen. Same way it's not that it didn't stay with 5 games that were coming to PlayStation. It didn't stay with a few games for their day and date on PC. You know, this is the way it has been going for Xbox, and then we can see where this is going, right? So just to sort of address that part of the narrative, right? But yeah, again, it doesn't mean that PlayStation is going to follow suit and do the same strategy, because they have no need to do that. Like it's stupid to imagine that you have a winning strategy and you're going to just turn it around and follow the loser's strategy and hope somehow that you're going to be more successful because of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's like the comparison makes no sense, right? Like I said, like people trying to use what they had to do as an example of the industry changing, and it's like that's like Mercedes AMG they're going to start making $20,000 cars because the Corolla was the number one selling car in America. Like, no, they're going to keep making Mercedes AMGs. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. That
Yeah.
like people act like the other things don't exist or change because one thing did well or one thing didn't. It's like, no, that doesn't hold any bearing on that other company's success. They're in a completely different lane than they are. And like you said, PlayStation has no concern for them competing because, like you said, they're no different than any other third party. Somebody asked that, you know, they were like, but what if, a Xbox game sells well, on PlayStation? And I was like, so what if it does? I was like, if it's a good enough game, chances are it'll sell well. But I was like, just because GTA is going to sell, 60 million copies on PlayStation, that doesn't stop my excitement for Intergalactic or Ghost of Yote or Wolverine or any of these other upcoming games, or where the wind meets. You know what I mean? So it's like that's such a weird thing to think. This game's success is going to mean that all of a sudden I'm uninterested in all these other games. Like, no, like we thrive on playing great games over here. So if you can deliver that, yeah, sure, we'll take that too. Yeah, we can support that here because buying games is what we do, by evidence of those sales numbers. But
And
yeah,
this is silly. The entire idea that just because they bring a few extra games to PlayStation, like how many, like if that was actually an issue, then there would be no third party games in the PlayStation. Like if they only want to sell
exactly.
their own games.
Exactly. Like I was just like, yeah, that's just like such a weird thing to think that would happen. Like, but what if they release a really good game? And I was like, oh, okay, what if they do? Like, like that would be great. Like as if them releasing like if Fable is like an 11 out of 10, all of a sudden we're just gonna be like, all right, forget every other game for the rest of the generation. Microsoft released a good game. It's all over. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I don't understand where that logic came from. Like you said, I think people are just like beholden to the fact that they are still a platform holder, but also third party, and that's just not something that existed before. But it's like that only affects them, not everybody else. Like that's their decision and their thing to deal with, like you said. But but yeah, Omar, um, like you said, as far as the PC initiative and what's been stated, and obviously PlayStation continuing on their path, um, with PC coming later, with the exception of the live service games. Um, how do you feel about them reiterating that push to remain exactly where it's been? Nothing's changing, business as usual. Because I know you're not a fan of them, you know, with the PC initiative at all, but reiterating it, I know has got to be a relief for you because I mean you don't want it to go any further than where it's at.
So, first off, it makes sense. They're console manufactured. Yeah, the other company forgot that, didn't they? Like, the day Xbox went day and date on PC, it was over. As for PlayStation, it makes absolutely sense for them to do it like this. And we literally seen people buy PlayStation 5 just so they can play Wukong. Not all of them are able to buy it on PC. And also,
Yeah,
some couldn't even run it on PC.
that part.
Remember?
Yeah, a lot of people couldn't.
Yeah. So it absolutely makes sense, and it's a smart business decision attacking a channel like that. Well, not per se attacking, but like tackling a channel like that. As for the people that wanna, focus on what they hope they do, like We all know they have PlayStation, but they still want PlayStation to go day and date. Why? Validation. How long have they been screaming this? PlayStation is gonna go day and date and follow Xbox? How long?
Probably since the end of the last 2 or 3 years of the PS4 generation at this point.
And here is the kicker. When have they ever said the same thing about Nintendo?
Oh no, they don't. They make a very explicit,
Why
substitution.
is Nintendo never included in the conversation? Or do they not exist because they make quote-unquote kiddie games?
They're special. They don't have to be included. At
Ah,
least
okay.
that's what I heard.
Yeah.
That they get a pass.
Let them wait and hope. And the fun part is they truly believe, and people like you, uh, they think people like you, if they go day and date, you're gonna still support them on PlayStation. I know for a fact you're gonna go day and date with them on PC, right?
Yeah, I mean, if, like, I've already said, like, if PlayStation ever did complete day and date, this would be the last PlayStation I ever buy. And if they
Like
do it,
yeah,
if they do it next generation, like I said, even if they started like mid, like yeah, like I'll have one already, but then the next PlayStation I won't buy. Like it'll drop off dramatically. So yeah, they can try me if they want to, but yeah, like you said, I'd be done buying PlayStation at that point. I'd be PC only, or well,
but
PC and Switch, or whatever Nintendo does.
yeah, but because right now they're still making console, what did you do? You bought the Pro, didn't you?
I did.
And you're
I want
enjoying
the
the fuck
best.
out of it. Not only
Absolutely,
did you buy the Pro, you actually bought the what do you call it?
the PSVR 2,
Uh, yeah, but the other one,
PlayStation Portal,
the Portal. Yeah.
which is
And
more sales for them
we
based on all
all
these other things.
remember the podcast that we did. We all laughed at the Portal. Nobody asked for it, and what happened? It won you over. It won you over. It won Viper over. It won Morgan over, and we.
Yeah, we actually have two. So
I have no need for it.
Me and Priscilla have one.
I have no need for it because I'm literally on my PlayStation next to my bed, so I don't need. I have no issue like you guys having. But yeah, at the end of the day, they need validation,
Yeah, I
which
agree.
is which is entertaining to see because they truly don't care about PlayStation. Let's give it a buck. Like how you gonna hype up Seven Rebirth and not support it like that? Um, 50, uh, 50,000 players, and they're hyping that up as some achievement. I'm gonna give them 60 because I don't know the exact number.
Yeah, the concurrent player number.
And they were excited, like, excuse you, me, this is the number that, but PlayStation on reverse selling close to 7, I think 7, I'm not sure the exact number. I'm sure they crossed 5. That's too little. But hey, 50 current players is impressive.
Yeah,
The double standard
different
with PC
different
is
standards.
entertaining. The double standard is absolutely entertaining. What shocked me was the strategy game that it's UK, but still, it have more players on PlayStation versus PC.
Okay, yeah, I do agree that Civilization 7 having more sales on
Yo,
PlayStation was literally not on my bingo card for
yo,
2025.
that's
That was insane.
wild.
Yeah, that was absolutely insane. I don't know what the
Like
heck was going on there.
that's legendary status.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened there. As someone who has played Civilization, every single one of them since at least, I mean, I played prior, I think I played since 3, but at least 4 for sure, and played every iteration thereafter. I have full intentions of playing it on PC, so I had no idea it would take off like that, especially for the first time launching simultaneously on consoles, which is crazy. And it did apparently insane on PlayStation. So I don't, yeah, I don't even know how to react to that, to be honest. Like,
Dude, it's like, what happened, PC Master Race?
yeah,
Like,
I don't
this
know.
is the craziest one out of all of them.
Yeah, I don't
But
think
again,
anyone's seen that coming. But yeah, PlayStation fans out here supporting, man. They breaking records.
again, it's a double standard that I have an issue with. If you want PlayStation to go day and date, Nintendo should do the same then. Heck,
Yeah,
make
I
it so
agree.
that exclusives are not illegal legal anymore. Because that's what they want.
Well, yeah, I
They
mean,
want.
they're saying that, but the reality is they realize the consequences of that and what would actually happen, and we'd be in like a weird homogenous uh gaming ecosystem, which would dwindle competition to no end, and it would result in us ultimately getting not only less and less games, but worse games overall. So yeah, they, like I said, they say that, but we all know the real reality of no competition and how that turns out for us. Kind of like the current graphics card market for people. Good luck with that. But yeah,
So, according to Hero Under, he said, I heard that Civilization 7 was designed with ease of use for console gaming. Hey, it's clearly visible when it's selling more, or at least having more players on PlayStation 5 versus PC. Like, that's still wild to me. But yeah, again, they are against exclusive and they want day and date. But again, they don't support them. And this is why I forgot which one it was. Uh, some of you guys mentioned the biggest game in history right now, GTA 6. It's not coming to PC day one, and there is a reason for that. Optimization, baby. As for Square Enix, you want day and date. Well, good luck with the optimization for their game. Cause if they already come fucked up after releasing on PlayStation first, how is it going to be when they need to release it simultaneously on PC? And
yeah.
hey, tell me,
I mean, it's not going to be pretty, that's for sure. I mean, they
it's
already can't
not
manage it,
gonna
so
be pretty. Let's move on.
yeah. No, all good points. But yeah, like I said, as of this moment, current strategy, PlayStation's sticking to it, and they should. I think sticking to it, and the games launching this year that should, PlayStation should soar past 100 million, if not before the holiday season. To be honest, but like I said, especially with the launch of GTA 6, and not only just PlayStation but the Pro as well, depending on what kind of enhancements and stuff happen for that. Again, because that's going to be the most powerful console to play GTA until it launches on PC a year and some change later. So, but yeah, um, on to, I guess, not so good news. In other news, Marvel Rivals, the by to phenomenal success, sorry, that the game has now come out in news by the president from NetEase, cutting, at least starting with cutting, the U.S. development team, that was largely responsible for a lot of integration and stuff with the U.S. market. They went on ahead and cut that team, as well as multiple other initiatives with inside of NetEase that we are learning. So it's not just them that's getting cut. That was just the start of it, apparently. Despite the absolute insane success that this game has had, generating, I think, over $135 million in a month or something crazy like that. Um, So, despite all that and the team's working to, an insane degree and being able to achieve that, they are rewarded with being laid off, largely because in a statement released and discovered by some journalists, is that the CEO wants to generate billions in revenue, not just hundreds of millions of dollars. And his way to achieve that is by cutting as much cost or expenditure as possible from within the company. So he is to the point where allegedly he wasn't even going to launch Marvel Rivals. He was going to cancel Marvel Rivals before it launched, which obviously, by the success of that game, would have been a massive mistake. I don't understand again why you would think cutting basically all of your games coming out would essentially generate you more profit. I mean, you're going to increase profit margins of what you have currently, but you're not going to, generate any excitement or anything from new products. I mean, obviously, we've all seen the success of Marvel Rivals, whether you like it or not. I mean, I don't play it personally, but its success is undeniable, and that would have been a colossal mistake to not release that title. Um, but I mean, honestly, reducing the personnel and the people who have worked on it and help you achieve that success also feels like a colossal mistake. I feel like they're cutting some pretty important personnel. I think it honestly, this whole move is reminding me very giving me vibes a lot like when Elon Musk bought Twitter, and he thought it was quite funny to cut like 90% of the staff, only to have to beg a bunch of these people to come back because he realized you couldn't run Twitter without a bunch of engineers and all these people who do all the important things to keep the platform running. So it's kind of giving me that vibes, like where you essentially get somebody new, anybody who has worked a job and had a manager or so on and so forth. We've all had that moment where a new manager or a new CEO or someone in a higher position comes in. It's like they want to make a splash. They want to come in and they feel like they got to change something. Half the time before they even know what's really going on and how to appropriately run the company or their position, right? Um, I'm famous for this or I'm famous for that. It's like come in, make my mark, and then essentially they want to get paid and get out. Um, so yeah, what were you gonna say,
Thank-
Weeb?
thank- thank- Thankfully, he's now only firing the people who were running your nuclear weapons.
Right? um, but yeah, man, it just I don't know what they are thinking with this. If anything, they need to solidify um, the structure of the teams that are working on these things. You want to have them put in place and have as many people as possible working on the quality of this game and out here in the American, the U.S. market, which is obviously massive for them. Um, in a big part of obviously where Marvel is really huge. So to me, I have no idea what this person is doing.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I think
so
they said he didn't want to pay the licensing fee for Marvel.
which is crazy because they're still ultimately going to have to pay it because I mean it's there. And somebody did mention that too. I saw that where they were like, oh, they're cutting a bunch of people to try and like recoup it, which is crazy because I'm like, well, you made so much money and you're still making so much money and it's still the number one game. So I'm like, what is there to complain about? Like, like again, it's turning into, like you said, like we've talked about before, corporate greed. It's not about making money. Uh, it's about making all the money. So basically, you get an excess where people start cutting things that even sometimes they definitely shouldn't, in order to try and save money or look like they're generating more profit, making the profit margins bigger. Trying to appease the shareholders while also sacrificing the integrity potentially of the product. I mean, time will tell, what really happens. They claim, the whole team is intact that really works on the game and this and that, and that team wasn't essential or whatever, so they claim. But I think that'll be very obvious and very apparent to people who play that game going forward, whether or not that's really the case. But yeah, obviously it's not just them being affected. They're cutting, all over the place, and um, but the reality is it's setting a bad precedent, right? Uh, you create this game, you create the number one game, pretty much in the world currently, and you get laid off for it. Like, what are game developers to think when working on a product or a project if you can't stay employed after creating the most sought after game on the planet? Where can you remain employed? Like, that's makes the job itself very tenuous. This very high degree, high demanding, high skill set job, and it's like you get screwed the moment you launch the product. Like, that's insane. um
Well, to be fair, that if for a lot of games that does happen, right? That for games launch, there's a lot of layoffs of people, of contractors, of non-essential staff. So it's not entirely unprecedented.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but it does seem strange for a service game where it's like with game with single player games. There's just you don't need a lot of people when you start up a new game, right? You need them when you're in the middle of actually coding and developing that game. So that's why you often see these layoff cycles, and then they start hiring again.
Hmm.
But yeah, with service games, yeah, you'd expect you have a continuous need for support, and I guess they sort of decided to, yeah, we don't need you guys anymore to, adapt it to the American market. We can handle it from here. Um, Maybe something to do with the tariffs and the trade wars and something. I don't know if that plays a factor. Um, but yeah, it's not like you said. It's not just Marvel Rivals. They did close the studio that made Visions of Mana not that long ago. And they also said to negotiate, and so the former head of RGG Studios and Suda 51 Grasshopper, that they won't be getting any more money to fund their current projects, which doesn't mean they're canceled, but it sort of means that they're basically going to come out in the state that they are, I guess, right now, and doesn't really bode well in terms of, okay, uh, yeah, I'm kind of worried for them that their decision to get in bed with NetEase is coming back to bite them, and maybe if their game doesn't succeed, they're going to be laid off or laid off. I mean, their studio is going to be closed,
Hmm.
and they're gonna, yeah, we might not see anything from them anytime soon, or at least not from any of their existing IPs, particularly with Grasshopper. Then, of course, Nagoshi is supposedly working on his own new IP. So yeah, that's kind of but that's kind of the risk you have when you get into bed with these big companies. It's not just because of NetEase. If you get into bed with EA, you see the same thing. I mean, the fact that their CEO had the audacity to claim that Dragon Age Veilguard failed because it wasn't a service game, rather
Yeah.
than the fact that they tried to make it a service game at some point and had to then really redo the game when somebody pointed out, yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah, I mean, it's an inherent risk of you getting bought or getting in flows with greedy big corporations that, yeah, can
Agreed.
give you the safety net of that you don't have to worry about making ends meet. But in the end, if you don't deliver, or if they want to change course, yeah, they're still gonna fuck you over.
Exactly. No, I agree. uh Omar, your comments on this one?
Dude, how many games have we covered live service games that died?
There's a lot, so much that we skipped a lot of them.
Literally a week ago or something, that Hood game died.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we
And
remember that game died because they usually
yeah,
don't last long.
and yet here we have a clearly successful game,
Hmm.
and they still fire people for it.
Yeah, corporate greed, maximize profit.
You can't, you can't win, can you?
Apparently not in game development, at least for some companies.
I like that's the craziest part. You created what arguably, so apparently they wanted to scrap it. They didn't even want to release it, but then they end up releasing it, and look where they are right now. But they still fire people. Like, you can't make this shit up. Corporate greed, my dude, corporate greed.
Indeed.
It's frustrating, you know, because like you would assume if a game is doing so well, you wouldn't need to fire people. But
I mean, they definitely don't
apparently
need
you do.
to, but yeah, I mean, and that's the sad part. Like they said, if anything, with a live service game, you want to have personnel on board switching into live service mode and developing as much content as possible for the game, especially a game that's global like Marvel Rivals. You want to have teams in place all around the world to make sure in your key markets to make sure you are generating content that those places want in order to maintain uh, the high success that your game launched with. But NetEase apparently does not care, or at least our president doesn't.
Nope. And the craziest part, it's not gonna stop with them. Apparently they have planned to maybe we might see them cut other studios off.
Yeah, I mean he is planning a
Like
cut throughout the
Tom
entire publication. So
Tom Henderson quoted saying, NetEase could cause the closure of more than a dozen studios, including Quantic Dream, Grasshopper, and Negotiate Studio, and more.
yeah, Quantic.
Like,
I'd be sad about Quantic Dream. Those
I
are
would be
that's
sad
one
at
of my
Quantic
favorite
Dream as
studios.
well, because they're go-to studio, no matter what.
Yeah, hope my hope is at least um, somebody picks up some of these studios if they do get cut, in a timely manner, not like the Hi-Fi Rush team where they got cut and then they waited. They did get picked up again, but the wait was kind of long, so a lot of their staff had moved on to other positions. So hopefully, you got some people ready in the wings wanting some of these studios if they ultimately try to close some of these studios to move some of
What
these really talented
what
developers.
surprised me, what surprised me is Grasshopper is not bought by Nintendo, because they published one of the No More Heroes games. It's gonna be, this is why nobody should buy all these studios. I've said it for PlayStation, I've said it for Xbox, and we're watching it
Yeah, we already saw the
unfold.
embrace. We already saw the nonsense with the Embracer group, so
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, with Embracer Group, they got fucked over.
they did.
They
They did.
didn't they didn't plan it well. Like, how you gonna go on a deal from words alone? Oh, you're
Agreed.
such a big deal. Oh, I'm not gonna put pen to paper. Like, that make no sense. But hey, this is the industry we are living in, and that's our reality right now. And it's genuinely crazy to see how, again, it still boggles my mind. They got the key to the kingdom, and it's still not enough, dude.
Still not enough.
Like, that's what makes it so frustrating. Like, you have the key to the kingdom, and it's still not enough. Yo, corporate greed is abysmal. Let's let's end it. Let's end it.
Yeah.
People are weird, dude.
No, yeah, I mean, I know they have that stuff as well, Henry. So I mean, like higher end positions and stuff like that with the severance and other stuff, and so a lot of those people will be, but it still sucks. You know what I mean? Like you thought, like, oh man, I did such a phenomenal job. The team knocked it out the park, pop champagne. You know what I'm saying? We're about to, we launched a successful live service game, and we're gonna be making content and going crazy on this game for years to come, at least for the foreseeable future. And then just, oh, by the way, you're fired. Like, what? So it's like, that's just crazy to see. Um, but yeah, like I said, one other thing that came up, uh, that we'll just cover real quick because I mean it's not really something that's feasible, but it was a comment from Mike Ibarra commenting that Xbox should cut a deal with PlayStation and Nintendo to bring over friends lists and libraries. Um, I mean, obviously he's on the idea that ultimately, like, their hardware is not really selling. It's decreasing year over year. And while the games portion of everything is thriving, that's the one portion that isn't. So trying to give people an out, a way to push them into the other platforms even more so if they haven't already. Obviously, from a logistics standpoint, that wouldn't really work. Anybody who knows, with especially with backwards compatibility stuff with the 360 games, and stuff like that, you'd only be able to bring about a really, really limited amount of your library, even if that was something they could do. Imagine, again, like I said, the logistics of that would be a nightmare. Transferring licenses and a bunch of other stuff would be a mess. Um, Friends list, I mean, yeah, I could see some sort of import for that, uh, for sure. You just attach your PlayStation or your Switch, your Nintendo ID to your Xbox, and you could just transfer that stuff. But um, yeah, just a comment that came up is that a lot of people were discussing, the validity of it, and obviously, like I said, for multiple logistical reasons, that wouldn't really work all that well. Um, it's not a big discussion point because I mean, we ultimately know that it wouldn't really work. I think it was just a funny thing to see coming from Mike, stating that. Some people, kind of considering like, man, they would potentially like that, if they were moving to a different platform. Um, Funny enough, I seen somebody earlier. We were looking on OfferUp, and they were selling like their Xbox Series X for like $115 or something like that. Cause and they said the reason underneath reason it says because I moved to PlayStation. So I thought that was hilarious. And selling it for 115 is like crazy low, which was insane. Um, but yeah, any comments on this, Omar? Because I know you were the main one that brought it up. But
it's actually wild how I know he is not part of Microsoft anymore, but it's still wild that this is the mindset now. It's kumbaya. This is why I said we can absolutely not have PlayStation be the only console publisher like this. I know Nintendo Switch exists, but let's give it a buck. They're not on PlayStation level. Yeah, their game sales, but they are not pushing the industry forward with hardware. PlayStation is. Xbox used to be. We don't even know. Yeah, Phil Spencer talked about how Xbox next gen console is probably releasing 2026. I I'm gonna wait and see on that one.
yeah, that
But
seems
for
way too early. But
yeah, I mean they did say that during the whole CMA paper stuff, Activision deal. Um, when it comes to Mike Barra, he you he he needs them players, dude. He know Xbox is not bringing them players, and you know that people care about the amount of players that your game is. Hey, not gonna lie though, um, crossplay is a thing,
Yeah.
is it not? Like, make use of that. Like, for example, shout out to Joseph Harris, a split faction. It's crossplay.
I didn't know that. I mean, I won't be using it, but that's interesting to know.
No, it is crossplay. He confirmed that. So that's impressive. So yeah, it can work in certain areas, like live service game. I absolutely agree. Make it crossplay. I'm not joking.
I
But
think crossplay is
but
the only thing that would really work, but actually moving your library would be a
yeah,
logistical nightmare.
but to me it feels like most people are not prepared to play with PC players.
Well, speaking
And
of Marvel Rivals prior, that's something for people who don't know. Marvel Rivals crossplay does not crossplay console and PC. It only allows console players to play
it kind of make
across other consoles.
it kind of makes sense, don't it? Like
It absolutely makes sense.
between the disadvantage and between the cheating, hey, it makes sense. But for Makibara, I don't know. I feel like he kind of remind me with Jeff Jaffe. He's saying some wild stuff and hoping it sticks. That's what you know. Cause let's face it, who is talking about Makibara? Nobody. Yeah, we are right now because of the comment he said. It almost feels like he's looking for his 5 minutes of fame type of thing.
I mean, people talk about him in the same vein when he says something as like Sean Layden. Like Sean Layden hasn't worked for PlayStation for God knows how long, but people still bring him up every time he like makes a slight comment about PlayStation. So it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's fair. But I don't know about you, but I have yet to see such a wild comment from Stan Raiden.
I
But
mean,
yeah, it
he's got no, he's got no love for Microsoft at this point. So
it isn't it is entertaining trying to figure out how to fix the Microsoft players issue. Because God knows they know they have an issue, which is why they're now counting PC players just to be able to, catch up to PlayStation.
yeah.
It's entertaining. It's absolutely entertaining. I know they want to count the PlayStation and Nintendo Switch players. Yo, my guy. Ever heard of something called competition? You used to be part of that. What happened? Yo, they given up, didn't they? They surrendered. Like,
I mean, they're still making games, so that's all that matters to me. But I mean,
I
the
agree. Like,
decisions
we're
they
gonna
made
get
led
South
them
of
here. So
Midnight. We're playing South of Midnight. We're gonna play Fable. Yeah, I got you. But still,
I mean, you can't recover from the moves they made. So they're making the best
no.
moves of what they got. You can't just reverse all that overnight, and they're not gonna reverse it. So like
They
we're not going back to Xbox only. Like that's not gonna happen.
they shot themselves. They want PC.
Well,
They
between that
PC.
and spending almost $100 billion, but yeah,
I'm curious what we have to say about this one.
we
Nothing.
yeah,
I
I
knew
think
it.
yeah,
I
we,
absolutely, because I was the one that chose this topic, because it is wild when you look at it. But at
I
the
mean,
same
it's a
time,
funny comment
this
at the
is,
end of the day, but it has no real logistical value because
yeah, it's
it
lit,
can't be done.
it's literally Microsoft giving up. Like, that's how it feels. Like,
I mean,
we need,
it also doesn't make any sense considering they claim they confirmed that they're working on new hardware, so it wouldn't make sense for them to completely
I
integrate.
absolutely don't know for who the new hardware is. For the 30 South million people? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll find out when, on the next episode of what is Microsoft going to do next.
Apparently, their console is gonna be revolutionary, and they're gonna have a revolutionary controller. I'm looking forward to the controller part.
Oh,
On the next episode of Married with Phil.
right? Yeah, apparently it's gonna have quantum entanglement and all kinds of stuff. You know, they're going real Star Trek. I'm hearing. You know, yeah. Well, on the last the last Xbox podcast I listened to, you know, they're just
I
it's about to be insane.
I'm gonna ask you though. Do you think Xbox will have a head start of literally 2 years ahead of PlayStation with um next gen console generation?
I mean,
Because
I think that would be stupid, but sure, why not?
according to Shueishida, he doesn't know anything. He made that statement, but he said 2028 feels nice for an next gen hardware.
And that's exactly the year I said. So, yeah, I think you have to. I'm more attuned to what's going on in the tech space, GPUs, CPUs. You know what's actually happening, what's available, what's happening with engines, what's happening with all these things that have to take place in order to push to a next generation. 2026 is just way too soon, and the leap will be
Not
way too little.
not only that, who is gonna develop for your next gen console when you're the only one have a next gen console?
I mean, there's still going to be x86 architecture most likely, so it's going to be just like developing for the current Xbox most likely. So that's probably not going to change much. But whether or not people actually, I mean, they're going to, have to push for people to develop on it. I mean, they're going to have to see what kind of numbers they can pull, because
I
they're
think
definitely not going to
mostly it's
pull
gonna
30
be
million.
cross. I think it's gonna be cross gen.
You think what's going to be cross gen?
Their games. I
Of course,
don't
it's going to be
think.
part-time.
I mean, they
I
always
don't.
start cross gen.
I don't think they're gonna just make for like Series XX, for example. At least
They
not
never
for Series.
start. They never start like that. That would be stupid.
Yeah,
You have to actually have enough console user base for that to even
but
do that. And their games don't even do that anyway, because their
I
games are
do,
always going to launch on PC, so it doesn't even
I
matter.
do, I do believe this rumor of 2026. Cause remember they didn't do a pro.
I mean, I don't really care whether they do it or not. I'm just telling you, it's too
Yeah, it's
soon.
gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's too soon from a technical standpoint. Like
Yeah, it is
the
true.
leap is
It,
not going to be there.
okay, so here's what I believe has happened. They regret Series X and S
I mean, whether you
because
regret it or not, it doesn't matter. A large part of your user
because
base,
it didn't do
it
well and
doesn't matter. A large part of
the
your user base has moved to PC or PlayStation at this point.
the
They're not crawling back, especially if they moved to PC, because the PC, most likely a lot of them have purchased PCs that are already as strong, if not stronger, than whatever you pull out in 2026 anyway. So it's just not gonna happen. That's what I'm saying. Like it's a struggle at best, unless they do something that just doesn't exist, which is why a bunch of them are banking on this handheld that, at best Phil has said is years away, if they even do one. And those are incredibly expensive. So if you want to talk about some, new age tech on a handheld, you're talking $600 to $700, if not more. So that's what I say. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do, but we'll see. But yeah, with that, we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Shout out to everybody that came through the podcast. It was lit in the chat. The chat was super participant today. Like I said, Warwana, Hero Down Under, Sea Fresh, Sunny. I think I said Sea Fresh already. Henry Heck, Warwana. I don't know. I'm probably seeing people like twice, but like I said, everybody that came through, like I said, there was a ton of people. The podcast was like 3 hours long, so if I forgot to say your name, my bad. Um,
we did reach the 3 hour mark. Interesting.
yeah, Thrifty for popping in as well. I know he said he wants to be on one of the shows. I told him wait for a show that has a lot more a lot more news one week. And of course, Priscilla was in the chat as well. Shout out to Morgan She stayed up for like 24 hours for whatever reason she couldn't sleep. So that's why she left like a little before the podcast ended. She finally was too tired to stay awake. So she went and passed out. So you can find her at on Twitter at Chill Bandit. Um, yeah, just playing games, obviously playing. Her favorite right now, her heavy favorite, uh, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, a big favorite for a lot of people. And then where can the people find you?
You can still find me on Twitter as the Weep Sheriff at Infinite Rhizome and also on Blue Sky. Yeah, great show. Even despite our fears that we were light on topic, still made it 3 hours as usual. Yeah, player games and Otter Nation.
Otter Nation. Uh, and Karaba, where can the people find you, sir?
Yeah, people can find me at Carbon Job on Twitter and Vitamin G podcast every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And before we go, very quick, either Hero Down Under or Warawana did me on PlayStation a long time ago, and I just accepted. I have a habit of not looking up who added me because a lot of it is spam, sadly. But yeah, no, I accepted a few people, a few guys that added me, and yeah, I apologize for the inconvenience. But hit that like button, share the stream out, and see you next week with maybe an actual topic
Yeah,
other than greed, corporate greed, I hope.
hopefully. Um, but yeah, I am your host, Innate, also known as the Real Innate on Twitter and Blue Sky. Um, and as usual, if you want to find me anywhere, you can find me gaming. Uh, and if Priscilla has it her way, you can find me in the gym. Because I'm sure she's ready and rearing to go to the gym after eating her salad earlier. But yeah, shout out to Kay. She was home recently. She's headed back up on the road. So safe travels to her.
On the
Uh,
grind, eh?
on the grind, back to the grind. But yeah, other than that, Otter Nation, and we up out of here.
Other donation it is.
Otter